is the fundamental way to solve the Ukraine crisis, and that the international community should play a constructive part in the peaceful settlement of the crisis and do more things that are conducive to promoting peace talks.
A pledge for Australia to recycle almost 70% of plastic waste by 2025 almost certainly won't be met. Currently, the country's only recycling about 16% of its plastic. It means hundreds of thousands of tonnes is going to landfill instead of being reused. More men suffer fatal injuries linked to alcohol consumption than women. Australian Institute of Health and Welfare data from 2019 and 2020 shows 78% of deaths from alcohol-related injuries were males. Dr Heather Swanston says during that period, there were nearly 2,000 injury deaths linked to alcohol.
And that ended up being around 30,000 hospitalisations through that year, 2019 to 20. And again, 78% of those were among males.
TikTok is expected to be banned from all official government devices as early as this week. A security review of the Chinese-owned app has been handed to the Home Affairs Minister. The move would bring Australia in line with the US, Britain and New Zealand. Australian actor and former Victorian MP Terry Norris has died at the age of 92. He's best known for his roles in Bellbird and Cop Shop from the late 60s through to the 1980s. Entertainment reporter Craig Bennett says his present was unmatched.
Fabulous knockabout bloke. Bellbird, back in the day, was absolutely one of the biggest drama series around.
And after a health scare interstate over the weekend, Rod Stewart has confirmed he will be performing in Adelaide tonight. He's appearing at the Entertainment Centre as part of his final ever tour of Australia. Fans can expect to hear all the hits, including Maggie May, Sailing and Rhythm of My Heart. Now turning to FIVEAA Sport.
4 early bird winners will score $250,000 in the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery. Deadline midnight Friday.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Adelaide forward Shane McAdam will appear before the AFL Tribunal charged with rough conduct in the game against GWS. It's likely to mean he'll get at least a 3-week suspension and possibly more. Meantime, Melbourne's Cozzy Pickett has accepted a 2-game suspension for a very similar incident where he threw himself into a bump on Bulldogs midfielder Bailey Smith. Lance Franklin has also accepted a 1-game ban for a glancing bump on Gold Coast defender Sam Collins. Meantime, Carlton captain Patrick Cripps expects Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow to take their game to another level this season. Cripps has told Fox Footy the Coleman medalists are yet to reach their full potential.
They both had full pre-seasons, which, as you know, in AFL it sets up a year. And even last year was their first year really playing footy together, and they both had really good years. So it's more time with that chemistry, but it's a bit of a luxury to have both of them up and fire, and they're both very different, but they do complement each other very well.
Australia's cricketers will train in Chennai today ahead of tomorrow's series deciding one-dayer against India. The 3-match series is all square at 1-1. Meantime, New Zealand has won its test series against Sri Lanka 2-0. That's after taking out the second test in Wellington by an innings and 58 runs. A back injury will keep Socceroos midfielder Aaron Moy out of Australia's friendlies against Ecuador. And USA Swimming is offering a $1 million US bonus to beat Australians at the 2024 Paris Olympics. And that's the FIVEAA Sport.
Now the FIVEAA forecast.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
A possible morning shower, a high of 28. Sunny tomorrow, also 28. Mostly sunny Thursday, 24 and 25 for Friday. At the moment, 18. More news as it happens on FIVEAA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is FIVEAA Breakfast.
6 after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to Tuesday, the 21st of March. It's Autumn Equinox Day, in fact. Vincent McAviney after 6:30 today. We're off to the UK. Vincent's going to be reporting on Xi Jinping's visit to Vladimir Putin in Russia. Globally significant story that Vincent is right across at 6:30 today. Here in Australia, in the nation's capital, Phil Curry will get you across the week ahead in federal politics, and we'll find out how Lucy went watching The Sting after 8 o'clock. David Penberthy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, listeners. That was a challenging pair of films for me yesterday. I've got very faint memories of both films and was thinking I should rewatch them both. But that whole period of cinema. I reckon it's such a great period. I've got so many fond memories. I used to love going to the old Video Easy on Dawes Road. Usually it was a Friday night thing with my dad and my sister. Mum would normally be cooking dinner, and remember 5 for $10? You're probably not young enough to remember 5 for $10, Will. The way it worked was new release videos generally cost...
they were more expensive when I was getting there.
You
didn't get 5 for $10.
I think a new release when I was about 13 or 14, I reckon a new release video was $5.
I was going to say, I remember them being about $6.
And that was a bit of an outlay. And often you go...
So you could toss in just a couple of favourites and classics. Yeah.
Well, the rule was everything else in Video Easy was 5 for $10. And, we'd sometimes get one new release for the big Friday night sit down in front of the TV, and Mum would make hot dogs, or, we'd have some sort of good couch food. And, but the 5 for $10, that was where you got real full Quentin Tarantino on it, and you'd scour through the shelves looking for the most obscure mix of movies. But it was great doing it with Dad, because he'd pick out... I remember watching a great film called Inherit the Wind, a Spencer Tracy courtroom drama about the Scopes monkey trial. Scopes was the teacher in the Deep South who was jailed for teaching Darwin's theory of evolution.
Oh.
It's a courtroom drama. It's a brilliant old black and white film, probably came out about 1960, maybe a bit earlier. But beyond that, our go-to period was early 70s. And I remember watching and loving Al Pacino in Serpico.
Oh, well, one of the all-time great films.
How good's that film?
It's just...
And watching films like Play Misty for Me, which is an unnerving film for people who work in radio. Clint Eastwood, victim of a stalking by a deranged person who is in love with the program. I don't think we engender that kind of enthusiasm.
No, it'd be the other way, I think.
Probably my favourite film of all time. Certainly top 3. Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah.
Al Pacino, John Cazale. I think that was about 1975. But yeah, 5 for $10. And, apparently now everything's available. I find it harder to access. How does that work?
I've read a bit of information about that would suggest that actually it's the illusion of everything being available. And in all seriousness, there's not actually as much as available as you think there is. So the trick of streaming is you think it's all out there somewhere. But in fact, the libraries aren't as vast as you're led to believe. And there's a lot of stuff you go, well, I can't find it on this one that I've got. It'll be on one of the other ones I don't. But it's not there either.
You've got Netflix. Have you got Foxtel?
I won't go into the depth about what I've got and how I've got it, but there's a complex... there's a complex...
Cable guy.
There's a... It's only been $50. There's a complex sort of patchwork of agreements that I've got with people. It's like NATO for live streaming, It was just sort of...
but how often do you go to Netflix new releases and you look at all the films and you think every single one of those films is clearly garbage? You can tell.
Well, a lot of them they've made. And this is the thing. There's a difference between a new studio release and a Netflix release.
Most of them are sort of straight-to-television horror movies and things like that.
They're making... That's the difference now.
Rubbishy rom-coms.
They're making them. So they are new movies, but they've only been released on Netflix.
Damien said it was 5 weeklies for $10 on the Dutton's text line, and I spent weekends watching classic 70s and 80s horror films with that. Yeah, we used to throw one of them in each week.
Still 1,713 homes and businesses without power this morning. If that's you, and it's getting on 24 hours since you've had power, let us know. I'm looking at people who might live in the Modbury Ridgehaven area, maybe people that are in the Ross Trevor area. You guys have been out since I remember this time yesterday. McGill, there's a few. Largely, SA Power Networks has done a massive job in getting this number from 33,000 at one point yesterday morning to 1,700 right now, but still Kensington Gardens. There's a host, a few in Mitcham and Netherby. We had a few listeners down south. Let's have a look how that's panning out. Seacliff Park, they won't be back on until this afternoon. at Blackwood as well. If that's you this morning and you've managed to tune into us, we'd love to hear how you're getting on, what you're hearing and what the situation has been in your area. Maybe it's visibly a power line down or a tree that's come down. Give us a call on 8223 0000 or text us on the Duttons text line, which is, of course, thanks to the excellent people at the Duttons.
Duttons.
3 dealerships, 10 franchise in the Adelaide Hills in Murray Bridge.
For all your motoring needs.
Absolutely right. And they're easy to do business with, the good people of Duttons. We met them. They're lovely.
Yeah, it was
as well.
good fun. Good coffee that morning.
12 minutes after 6.
I can't believe the power's still out in so many places.
It is. Yeah, it's...
Long time without power.
What, 24 hours, it stops being novel.
Sorry, me talking about Netflix there, for anyone who's sitting at home thinking, oh, wish I could watch TV. You can listen to us, though, on the transistor radio.
So the battery-powered radio.
Proving yet again that the olden days were better.
The battery-powered radio.
You can't stop a tranny.
You've always said that. It's we're going to take a break and we'll check news headlines in just a moment.
Go full sport with Code Sports, Australia's biggest and most experienced sports news team, featuring leading experts with decades of experience in the game, bringing you the in-depth stories that matter. For all your sport now in the one place, visit Code Sports today.
Introducing Nissan Future Value Business Plus, a new fleet finance solution for small to medium businesses offering competitive weekly repayments, including the cost of scheduled servicing for the loan term. Available now on the all-new Nissan X-Trail ST. Plan confidently for the road ahead with Nissan Future Value Business Plus. Visit nissan.com.au/business plus or contact your local Nissan dealer. Approved ABN registered small to medium fleet applicants of Nissan Financial Services. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
Oh, sure, we'll help you with your groceries. Your cleaning too. That's right, you can continue living in your own home. Yes, we have a great health and wellness team. Oh, 72? Yeah, no, that's the perfect age to take up photography as a hobby. Figuring out aged care for yourself or a loved one? Start with Anglicare SA. Our experts will help you navigate aged care and personalise the services you need. Search Anglicare SA Aged Care. Anglicare SA. Together, we change lives.
Decor Lighting's big 5-day sale is on now. In-store only. Get 20% off all decorative pendant lighting, table and floor lamps. 5 days only, 24 The Parade, Norwood.
Decor right with Decor Lighting.
In a world full of stress and busy days, take some time for yourself with Your Morning Mantra, a daily meditation podcast and potent dose of health and well-being to start your day. 3 minutes of inspiration, focus, and practical tools to set your days up for personal achievement. Each morning, create a life you love with Your Morning Mantra. Search Your Morning Mantra and download for free on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
"15 minutes after 6 news headlines time on this Tuesday, the 21st of March. So by 7 o'clock last night, there were around 18,000 premises without power, down from a peak of nearly 53,000 yesterday. Wind gusts got up to 85 k's an hour. There were more than 160 reports of power lines down. In fact, there's a still standing warning on the SA Power Network's website about avoiding power lines that have come down. There are still, as I said just before the break, about 1,700 premises without power this morning. TikTok could soon be banned on Australian government devices, mirroring rules that were introduced in New Zealand, Britain and the US. The Australian is reporting a review into social media has been handed to the Home Affairs Minister. It's likely to recommend the app be banned as early as this week.
We started that conversation about a year or so ago with Tom Kenyon, the former industry minister who works for that security and IT firm that's done a lot of research on this. And at the time I thought, is this just Tom being, particularly hawkish about China? But I remember him saying to me, he said, you should watch what's going to happen in Congress because the Americans are really onto this. What does government devices mean? Does that mean if you bazzer from accounts working for the Department of Road Transport and you've got a phone as part of your job, does that mean you can't have TikTok on your phone?
I think that's my interpretation. That's exactly what
so
it means.
So everyone from the Prime Minister down can't use TikTok?
Can't use TikTok.
Everyone who's a public servant with a public service phone.
How many people over the age of 25 use TikTok, though?
Well, I got to say, any politician in Australia is using TikTok. It's like, check me out on Instagram handing out how to vote cards today in Prospect. It's a pretty desperate sort of, go to anywhere to find the voters type.
You're right, though, about that interview with Tom Kenyon. The bit that stands out to me, the firm that he's a part of compiled this metric for data harvesting, sort of scoring everyone out of 100, where 25 was bad and 30 was really bad and 50 was, arch villain in a Bond film bad.
Stroking a cat bad.
Yeah, and TikTok was like 90. Everything else was...
They want to know everything about you.
They were so far and away above every other social media entity. I just made those numbers up, by the way, so don't quote that.
That sounded convincing.
Did you like that? Yeah.
40% of people know that. Oh, Kent.
Australia is expected to miss its plastics recycling target by a wide margin. 9 newspapers reporting the goal to recycle 70% of plastic waste by 2025 almost certainly won't be met. Confidential documents from the packaging industry revealed we only recycled 16% of plastics in 2021. I just wondered, does that red cycle business going bust hurt this? Would have made it hard when one of the biggest recycling companies in the country went kaputski.
Yeah, that's right. That were the mob who were jointly funded by Coles and Woolworths.
That's right.
Yeah.
Credit card spending has reached record levels as disposable income dries up. Data from the Reserve Bank reveals monthly purchases on credit cards reached a record high $33.5 billion in January. It's a 17% increase over the year and an extra $4.9 billion put on the plastic cards in just 12 months.
Bit of a difference between the official cash rate and the interest rates you pay on your credit card too.
Absolutely. Comparison website Finder claims 1 in 4 Australians say they can't manage their finances without a credit card. Federal Parliament is today expected to pass laws creating the legal framework for the Voice referendum. The bill will be supported by the Greens and 2 independents. The coalition likely, though, to oppose it. The Albanese government plans to hold the referendum sometime between October and December.
How's that tracking, you think? It feels like the opposite of a groundswell to me at the moment. It feels
Momentum feels like it's stalled.
I really liked it when we had Dean, the chap from the who's involved with Crosby Textor's campaign for the yes vote, but so much of it just sounds like politicians arguing about stuff.
Do you think it's especially difficult to get a social movement off the ground and a referendum that relates to a social construct off the ground at a time when the previous item is about people having to put everything on the credit card to survive at the moment?
I think it's the challenge of doing it in the midst of a cost of living crisis has been totally ignored by the people in politics who are pushing it, who for a large part are inured from cost of living impact because, they're on a much better wicket with massive job security through working in public service roles. I just don't think that component of it. I mean, a lot of people voted no to the Republic because they said it's going to cost too much. I don't know if the Republic would necessarily cost much at all. You just have to change the livery on, all the sort of anything that is currently designated royal or whatever. Presumably you have to change that. Or maybe you don't even need to change it. It's not a matter of urgency. But a lot of people say, I'm not voting for it. Waste of money.
Well, 8223 you text us on the Duttons text line. Interested in where people are at with this whole voice discussion, because I suspect there's probably a significant number of people who may be sympathetic to it, may be ambivalent to it, but certainly aren't outright hostile to it, who just see it right now as it symbolically represents the in their view, mistaken priorities of Canberra. So people go, I'm overhearing about this because it's not what I think the number one issue should be. And therefore there's a groundswell of no vote that isn't based on people going, I think this is a bad idea, but they just see it as this is politicians who have their priorities all out of kilter.
Hey, we were talking before about credit cards. One here on the Duttons text line. Morning, guys. Once again, the cashless society was found out. Bunnings Modbury yesterday had internet trouble. People had to write down all their details. Well, except for me. I always carry cash and I just walked out. Cash is still king. And Andre from Millswood, this is a terrific text, Andre. And dare I say it, it is going to preempt much of the conversation we'll be having with Tom Wren very shortly. Andre from Millswood says, Morning, Dave and Will. As you know, I'm a Port member, but in regards to the MRO, how can they send McAdam to the tribunal and give Pickett 2 games? Go figure. Is this just another example of bias against non-Victorian teams? If McAdam gets more than the 2 games, which he will at the tribunal, Adelaide has to appeal on the grounds of the Pickett decision, and Andre signs off, and as always, go the power. Andre, you speak many truths.
We will be getting into that in just a few moments' time. In fact, if you're watching on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream, you'll know it's imminent when Tom Wren walks into the studio in a few moments' time. In fact, get in here, Rennie. We want to talk about this. It's 18.3 degrees outside at the moment, top of 28, up to a mill of rain on the way today as well. Top of 28 tomorrow and sunny. That's going to be really nice. 24 Thursday, 24 on Friday, 27 Saturday, 27 Sunday, and 25 Monday. Nothing much to speak of those days. Fairly light winds and pretty reasonable mild conditions. Darren on the Dutton's text line says tremendous amount of lightning and some rain on the York Peninsula right now. Well, we mentioned that we might get a mill in Adelaide. Sounds like that places to our west will be getting maybe significantly more than that. Tom Wren's in the 5AA Breakfast studio with us right now. 4 early bird winners will score $250,000 in the Hospital Research Foundation home lottery. Deadline is midnight Friday. Rennie, just take us through this Cozzy Pickett v Shane McAdam story, because to any sentient human being who has seen the two, they're going to struggle with the logic that Shane McAdam's was 50% worse than what Cozzy Pickett did to Bailey Smith.
It is round 1, and it has not taken long for confusion to reign supreme on the match review and the process. And look, it's not an easy job, I get that, but what I don't get is we get the grading for Cozzy Pickett. Careless conduct, high contact, high impact. Shane McAdam, the same. Careless conduct, high contact, severe impact. So his is rated severe impact, whereas Cozzy's is only rated high. He gets a 2-week suspension, and Shane McAdam is likely to get at least 3. Now, I just cannot fathom how Cozzy Pickett doesn't receive at least the same suspension as Shane McAdam. It is mind-boggling. So when you look at them, Pickett was way late on Smith and airborne. Weir had the ball. Now, you think about the layers of inconsistency just with the 2 incidents right there and how they've come up with
the way they look. Like, I watched both of them live, and the Pickett one, you go, ah! But the McAdam one, and not through, red, blue and yellow coloured glasses, I went, he's in trouble for that. But it didn't look as premeditated.
The Pickett one looked like something out of the 70s. Really, that was an old-fashioned shirt front. And
I'm not saying for a moment that McAdam doesn't deserve to get rubbed out. I reckon he should get rubbed out.
He should get 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually comfortable with him getting 3. But what I don't realise,
Pickett needs more.
Well, that's it. Like,
if they're going to send a message,
and if it's
send
outcome
a consistent
based,
message.
and if it's outcome based, both players played on.
Well, this is the thing I don't get, Rennie, because it seems like the variable here that kicked it from up into severe was the fact that Weir went off to get assessed by the doctor, and Bailey Smith didn't.
So
now, the assessment came back and said Weir was fine. So how is the impact severe? Did Shane McAdam shirt front the GWS doctor into making a a careful decision?
But isn't the danger here too that might set a precedent where the Bulldogs, for whatever reason, didn't refer their guy to the doctor? So by not checking, I don't know. Is it going to create an incentive not to have players tested as well?
I don't want to fuel the fire of the whole conspiracy thing, but I'm going in for a second. Tom Duday and Chelsea Randall. Now, the AFL, after the fact, when they received head knocks in games last year, said you can't play next week, despite the fact they were assessed and no problem. Bailey Smith, in this account, got his head taken off. His head taken off. How the hell was he not assessed? And I mean, I don't want to labour that point because I actually think it's stupid the whether someone needed to be assessed being the variable. If the outcome was he couldn't play on, I get it. Severe, fair enough. But the variable being, did someone else who was a party to it go, well, I want to have a look to make sure they're okay? That's stupid.
And in a week where we've had class actions filed against the AFL, and we've had all this talk about protecting the head, and the bump basically being in trouble. I thought this was a real opportunity for the match review to make a statement and to say, this isn't on. So 4 to 6 weeks, bang for both, and just see you later. But
I'd have no problem with that.
They've totally missed a trick here.
Yeah, I wouldn't care if McAdam got double what he's got at the moment, provided Pickett got more.
It's just chook lotto. You just don't know what's going on.
It's
It's so frustrating.
It doesn't feel like a level playing field for the non-Victorian clubs either. Ian in Paralawi on the Duttons text line says, "Hi guys, message to Tim Silvers. My club is not a whipping boy to the corrupt VFL. Stand up and appeal the outrageous decision to send McAdam to the tribunal tonight, which gives him a minimum 3 weeks off. The suspension needs to be consistent with what Pickett received." Thank you, Ian in Paralawi. Treader's fired up about it.
Well, and
he's hardly a Crows lovey.
Exactly. It's just the inconsistency, which is, and the other thing too is, and look, it might be semantics, but McAdam's feet were actually on the ground when he laid the bump, whereas Pickett was properly airborne.
Well, the fact that the GWS guy had the ball, whereas Smith didn't, I reckon that's a huge part of it. Because, if you're going for the guy with the ball, then there's all sorts of stuff going through your mind. Like, when Pickett cleaned up Smith, he didn't have the ball.
The ball had been kicked, and he was in that kicking motion, so he was...
Which made him even more vulnerable.
Vulnerable, because you're not bracing for contact.
It is absurd, isn't it?
Got to be staggering. So tonight that tribunal hearing will happen, and we'll find out what he gets, whether it's 3 or 4 weeks. But no doubt there's going to be a lot of feedback and uproar, I think, from not just Crows fans, but I think footy fans in general.
I actually think almost overwhelmingly that it's been universal, the response by football fans to say this makes absolutely no sense. It's just a stupid interpretation of the rules the AFL has around it.
It's bizarre.
Or the fixed nature of the categories they use to define these things. I think it's revealed the weakness of that kind of model. Good on you, Rennie.
Thanks, boys.
Magnificent work as always. 4 early bird winners will score $250,000 in the Hospital Research Foundation home lottery. The deadline is midnight Friday.
Thanks to AFIVEAA, you could win one of 10 Value What Matters $5,000 gift cards. To enter, just purchase an eligible new AFIVEAA comprehensive car or home insurance policy. That's AFIVEAA value. Call today on 13 50 50 or go online. AFIVEAA is an authorised representative of AAI Limited, the product issuer. Read the PDS before buying insurance. TMD available. Call for a copy. Competition ends 31st of March 2023. Full T&Cs at apia.com.au/win. SA permit number T22/1718.
I work long hours, but when I'm not working, I'm tinkering with my car. It's like my meditation, and that's why I love eBay. Because eBay is home to Australia's widest range of car parts, all at a great price. I got myself a new snorkel for my 4-wheel drive the other day. Off-roading is my other meditation. The best bit though, if the part doesn't fit, eBay's got my back with their money-back guarantee. That means I can browse, buy, carefree with eBay's money-back guarantee.
We open our doors to people we trust and care about. And for over 85 years, South Australians have been opening their doors to Rest Haven. In turn, we've been opening doors to an easier, better life at home. From personal care to help with the shopping and social outings, you'll welcome the care that Rest Haven brings.
Have you heard about the sunrise swim banana or the morning stroll banana? The kicking goals banana, the rowing banana, the mowing banana, the frisbee throwing banana? Well, now you have. You see, whatever you think, there's a banana to make your body sing.
Barnacle Bill, serving South Australia with quality cooked seafood for over 50 years. Each order is freshly prepared using the finest quality seafood. Sumptuous prawns, calamari, mouth-watering butterfish and chips with Barnacle Bill's own tartare sauce. From a snack pack for 1, crew pack for 4 or for the whole family. Come in and see why Barnacle Bill has been serving South Australia quality seafood for over 50 years.
He's gonna be Barnacle Bill.
Don't miss the Southern Volkswagen Mad Munch 4-day sale event. Score incredible deals, free CTP, free Rego, plus your choice of one of 3 huge bonuses. This 4-day sale event must end this Saturday, only at Southern Volkswagen. LVD 152780.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible morning shower, a high of 28. With the 6:30 news, I'm Kendall Brettig.
Try Locomat robotic gait training technology for neurological issues at Physio Extra. Visit physioextra.com.
SA Power Networks crews have been on the ground during the night working to get all properties affected by Monday's wild winds back online. Some had their service restored overnight, but around 1,800 are still blacked out. China's president has left the Kremlin after talks with Russia's leader, which lasted more than 4 hours. Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin will hold a more formal meeting tomorrow. President Putin's told his counterpart Russia's open to discussing China's plan to end the fighting in Ukraine. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the world shouldn't be fooled by China's peace plan.
President Xi is traveling to Russia days after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for President Putin. Suggests that China feels no responsibility to hold the Kremlin accountable for the atrocities committed in Ukraine, and instead of even condemning them, it would rather provide diplomatic cover for Russia to continue to commit those very crimes.
TikTok could soon be banned on Australian government devices, mirroring rules introduced in New Zealand, Britain and the US. A review into social media has been handed to the Home Affairs Minister. It's likely to recommend the app be banned as early as this week. Federal Parliament's expected to pass laws today creating the legal framework for the Voice referendum. The bill would be supported by the Greens and 2 independents, but the coalition's likely to oppose it. The Albanese government plans to hold the referendum sometime between October and December. The risk of brain injury and disability in premature babies could be greatly reduced through the use of stem cells. Donna Siramana explains.
Up to 40% of extremely premature babies face a risk of long-term developmental and behavioural issues such as autism and ADHD. A landmark study from Monash University is hoping to change that. The clinical trials harvested blood from 38 infants born at 28 weeks premature before having their stem cells re-injected. One baby who had stem cells taken from his cord blood was Kate Hoogan, who was born weighing 632 grams. He was able to be discharged from hospital weighing just over 3 kilos.
Australian actor and former Victorian Labor MP Terry Norris has died at the age of 92. He was best known for his roles in the TV shows Bellbird and Cop Shop, but also starred in dozens of films during his career. He also had a 10-year stint in Victorian politics. Rod Stewart has said his current tour of Australia will be his last, and tonight he's in Adelaide. Mel Usher has details.
There was a question mark over whether Rod Stewart's concert at the Entertainment Centre tonight would go ahead. He pulled the pin on a performance in Victoria over the weekend due to strep throat, but he's reassured fans via social media that he will be taking to the stage in Adelaide tonight.
Turning to FIVEAA Sport.
4 early bird winners will score $250,000 in the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery. Deadline midnight Friday.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Adelaide midfielder Ben Keys admits it still stings they weren't able to start the season with a win against GWS after blowing a 5-goal lead. Keys telling Treaders and Timmy G they reviewed the game and have a few things to work on.
Got to look at what we could have done better, and there was plenty. So, it's disappointing. Felt like with that big lead we had, that's a bit of a missed opportunity, but that's all right. We'll have to butter up and go again.
The Crows are set to be without forward Shane McAdam for at least a few weeks, with the match review officer sending his case for a high bump on GWS defender Jacob Weir straight to the tribunal. That's likely to mean he'll receive at least a 3-week suspension. Meantime, North Melbourne defender Harry Sheasel has been named the first AFL Rising Star nominee of the year. Sheasel starred on debut for the Kangaroos as they beat the Eagles, amassing a game-high 34 disposals. To the NBA, Josh Giddey's impressive form has continued as he put on 16 points, 6 rebounds and 6 assists to help his Oklahoma City Thunder record a 124-120 point win. That was against the highly fancied Phoenix Suns to further strengthen the Thunder's playoff claims. And football stars Marcus Rashford, Mason Mount and Nick Pope have all withdrawn from England's upcoming Euro qualifiers due to injury. And that's the FIVEAA Sport.
Now the FIVEAA forecast.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
A possible morning shower heading for 28. Sunny tomorrow, also 28. Thursday, mostly sunny, 24 and 25 for Friday. Right now, 19. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
24 minutes to 7, police and weather coming up very shortly. Then after 7 o'clock today, we'll be off to the nation's capital. Phil Curry report on the week ahead in Canberra.
Very good news about Rod Stewart, for Rod Stewart fans.
We had strep throat. He's had to cancel the concert already. But it's all go tonight. If you're heading along...
Tonight's the night, as Rod Stewart himself
Well, there you go.
would say.
Give us a call, 8223 000. You can text us on the Duttons text line as well, 0448 08 1395. The biggest global story today is Xi Jinping's visit to Russia to meet with Vladimir Putin. He outlined a 12-point plan for peace. Certainly raised a few eyebrows in the US and indeed the UK too, and that's where we find Vincent McAviney, our man in London. Vincent, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So we saw only a couple of weeks ago, Vincent, the turbocharged appearance of your Rishi Sunak, the leader of the free world, Joe Biden, and from Australia, Albo, our Prime Minister. What do you think the reaction to this will be? Because it feels like a sort of hastily arranged show of strength by China and Russia, aimed at very much telling the AUKUS powers that they want a multipolar world.
Yeah, I mean, this meeting has been in the pipeline for a little while. I think in part for Vladimir Putin it comes at a good time because on Friday he received something which is pretty rare for a sitting head of state, which is an arrest warrant being issued by the International Criminal Court for war crimes. Specifically, the charges cited with evidence was the theft of around 60,000 Ukrainian children. So he has been in sort of a wanting to project strength and defiance since then. So on Saturday he made that unexpected surprise trip to Russian-occupied Ukraine for the first time, going to Mariupol and going to Crimea as well for the anniversary of that annexation. He is, of course, now welcoming President Xi Jinping, and I think he's trying to say there is a new world order. He's someone who is obsessed with his position in history, his idea of Russia still as being a great power, and so I think he's trying to realign the axis using sort of some of the global south and countries in the Middle East, China as well, and Russia banding together as a sort of counterpoint to the West. But it is a very different relationship than the last, we are in a new Cold War. The last Cold War, Russia was the major party, and they considered China to be a sort of secondary, communist nation. It very much is now China pulling the strings. It's Putin who needs their help. He needs their help with, trade. He needs their help with components, with weaponry. And so we'll see over the course of this visit just how far along Xi Jinping is willing to go with Putin's plans, as much as he has any.
A lot of nerves in Ukraine, Vincent, about whether this partnership ultimately yields ammunition or arms for Russia by way of China. Did we get any hints as to how close that reality might be by virtue of this meeting?
No hints so far, but I think we'll be watching in the next day or two very closely to see whether or not that does change. It would be a major move by Xi Jinping, and it would likely result in yet more sanctions being placed on Chinese businesses, which probably Xi Jinping is reluctant to do because Russia trade is not going to make up for the loss of trade with Europe, with the United States in the coming years. So we'll see whether he goes that far. At the moment, they're saying they want to talk about the peace plan put forward by China last month, this 12-stage peace plan. That's already been rejected by the United States, saying it would be a delaying tactic for Russia and that it would effectively, pause the war in state, and if it was ratified, just sanction all the gains that Russia had made. So that isn't getting much track internationally. We'll see, though, whether Xi Jinping decides that, he's now secured this third historic term, whether he decides to send some real signals around the world as well, particularly, of course, thinking maybe a few years down the line with what he wants to do with Taiwan, whether or not he's going to really go full pelt behind Russia now.
Vincent, we're getting a lot of stories dribbling out in Australia now, and it's hard to know on what some of these yarns are based, but speculation about whether Harry and Meghan are going to be attending the coronation of King Charles, which is only really weeks away now. There was one piece I read yesterday saying that apparently Harry has insisted that he thinks if they do go, or that they should, not only should they go, but they should be allowed to stand on the balcony. As I said, anything that's got royal insiders in it as a source makes me raise one eyebrow. But what do you think's going on? Do you think that they're going to attend?
Well, they have confirmed that they've received that official invitation, so it is now in their court. But as Harry said repeatedly in the press tour for his book, and if you read the book, it's very clear that he feels that that his family have been wrong in recent years by the palace, by the people who are working around his father, and that there needs to be some kind of truce, some kind of apology before they'll consider, taking part in an event like that.
Yeah, all will be revealed, I guess. Vincent McAviney, our UK correspondent, thanks very much for joining us this morning, Vincent.
Thanks very much.
18 minutes to 7.
Be an awkward old get-together, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean,
it's in May, isn't it?
Family get-togethers always have a degree of awkwardness about who's going to sit where and, what's going to...
Yeah, but this is like...
This is the problem, is the
Christmas
whole world
dinner
watching
on steroids.
Yeah, this is if the whole world was watching your Christmas dinner and knew about every little minor feud that went on between every people.
They don't... Family occasions don't always have that, though. They sometimes do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But,
I mean, this does seem almost like irreconcilable differences territory. If he was my brother and he said all the things in public about me that he has about Charles and that he has about William, I don't reckon I'd ever talk to him again.
Yeah, it's almost as though you wonder if, in the absence of the sort of forced protocols of the whole royal thing, whether they would have any relationship whatsoever. They're sort of forced together at these kind of events.
Well, it doesn't matter if you're a member of the royal family or just an average punter. I reckon, what's that great line from what is probably my favourite Springsteen album, Nebraska? Man turns his back on his family, well, he just ain't no good. You think, what is that song? It's about is it the one about the cop whose brother is living on the wrong side of the law, and he chases him to the state border and then pulls over and watches his taillights disappear because he's robbed a bank.
Right.
And this guy, the cop's chasing his own brother, and then he goes, I'm just going to let him go. Which is, wholly unethical, but maybe morally defensible on family grounds.
Do you think Bruce had sort of...
He should write a song about the coronation.
Had he foreseen the sort of issues in the royal family, do you think?
I think he'd just be sad. He would have got out his 8-track and penned one of those. How good is that album, Nebraska?
It's fantastic.
Very underrated record.
All right, 16 minutes to 7. We're going to check traffic and come back with police and weather in just a moment.
Thanks, Will. And good morning. She's pretty quiet on the road today, so you shouldn't have too many hassles getting where you're going. A few roadworks you might want to keep in mind. You'll find them at Elizabeth North, Main North Road near Womma Road. Speeds reduced there. Got lane out of action this morning at Frueville, Glen Osmond Road near Fullerton Road, and slow going as per normal at Bedford Park. That's for works on the Southern Expressway as you're heading into the city. Cameras this morning, Everard Avenue, Keswick, and Montague Road at Cavan. Did you know Guzmani Gomez hard-shell taco with iceberg lettuce, cheese and ground beef cost just $3? That's great value. Look up hashtag GYG Did You Know for more. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
I'm Kathy Nagel, Chief Executive of Western Hospital Henley Beach. Cancer diagnosis is a traumatic and emotional life event, but we are here to help. Western Hospital offers a wide range of cancer services to those in the western suburbs and beyond. We pride ourselves on assisting our community for the past 25 years in the fight against cancer within our friendly chemotherapy unit. Experienced nursing staff are the cornerstone when providing outstanding care. Visit westernhospital.com.au.
It's incredible. Over 75% of tickets in the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery have already been sold. Don't miss your chance to win the $3.5 million grand prize and live mortgage-free in Henley Beach. With a huge catalogue of prizes, including epic holidays and luxury vehicles. Get your tickets before it sells out. To see full lottery details and get your tickets, visit homelottery.com.au. Licence M14311.
Now here's the shocking truth. The majority of all ham sold in Australia is actually made from imported meat. Good news is, it's easy to spot ham made from true Australian pork. You just pick a pack with the pink pork logo.
Patience pays off, especially if you've been holding out for a great deal on a new Volkswagen. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen is now receiving truckloads of new Volkswagens. Yes, they're coming. And they're available at amazing prices. Remember Mawson Lakes Volkswagen for servicing too, with next day servicing and free loan cars. Get a great deal on Volkswagen now. Don't dilly-dally, dawdle or delay. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, just a short drive from the city.
Hello, Frank Walker from National Tiles. For 43 years, National Tiles has consistently given our customers the best value for money tiles in Australia. Here's proof. Magnificent polished Verona floor tiles. National Tiles' best value price of $39 is over 20% below the market. That's right, 20% below the market every day of the year. Yes, I personally guarantee you National Tiles has the best value for money tiles in Australia every day of the year.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
You'll be hearing Rod Stewart if you're going along to the concert tonight in Adelaide.
Guess who wrote the song? Who? Tom Waits.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
What's the story?
He just wrote it, and Rod Stewart went, I like that one, I'll cover it.
Oh, I see. So he wrote and he didn't write it for Rod
No,
Stewart.
he wrote it himself.
Wrote it and performed it. Right.
That gravelly voice of his.
Fantastic. If you're getting along, make sure you give us a call, 8223 0000, text us on the Dutton's text line. Let's talk about the weather today, because this time yesterday, the aftermath of the gale force winds in the eastern part of the city were just becoming apparent. Simon Timke's the senior forecaster at the Bureau. Sounds like we had a more mild night last night, Simon.
Morning, Will. Morning, David. Yeah, certainly not as windy this morning as yesterday morning. We have had a couple of showers move across the Adelaide area. Picked up a few spots, picked up a fraction of a millimetre down, particularly over the southern suburbs. But looking at the radar at the moment, a couple of light showers moving across the northern suburbs. There was a couple of lightning strikes in that band of showers as it moved across York Peninsula, and we did get some gusty winds with that thunderstorm at Minleton, a gust to around 63 kilometres per hour. But it does seem to have weakened out a little bit now, and the thunderstorms have pushed a little bit further north, pushing across Port Wakefield area, heading towards sort of Mallala sort of area now. So a bit more focus over the mid-north rather than the Adelaide area. But chance of 1 or 2 showers around this morning, and possibly that rumble of thunder, but certainly not as windy as yesterday morning. Temperature-wise today, we had a minimum 18 degrees just after 6 o'clock, and currently sitting on 19.4 degrees. Expecting a maximum of 28 degrees for the city today. Around the suburbs, 27 degrees for Glenelg and Noarlunga, 26 for Mount Barker, and 29 degrees for Elizabeth. The winds generally are lightish to start off with, tending around a bit easterly during the morning, and then southerly late afternoon. Over the next couple of days, plenty of sunshine on the way. A sunny day on the way for Wednesday, with southeasterly winds and southwesterly sea breezes during the afternoon. 28 degrees the maximum for Wednesday. Sunny again on Thursday, maybe a little bit of fog around the hills to start off with. 24 degrees. 25 and mostly sunny for Friday, and then a mostly sunny day for Saturday as well, up to 27 degrees. The next change moves across on Sunday though, so a bit of cloud around with a slight chance of a shower, 27 degrees. And then Monday next week, still a chance of a shower around and some cloud, 25 degrees.
Nice.
Good on you,
lovely
Simon.
figures there. Thank you, Simon.
Simon Timke, senior forecaster at the Weather Bureau. Let's head off to SOPOL. Senior Constable Matt Brown joins us. Matt, there's been an attempted break-in at Modbury this morning.
That's right. Well, about 2:30am today, police were called to a house in Berryman Drive after reports that 2 men had tried to break into the property by using a drill to try and remove the door. The male occupant disturbed the intruders, who fled the scene on bicycles. One of the men was wearing a checkered shirt and had a headlamp on his bike helmet, while the other man was wearing a black T-shirt with white writing. So anyone who may have witnessed suspicious activity in the area is asked to call Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
Matt, also there was a serious crash in the northern part of Murray Bridge last night.
That's right, David. One man's lucky to be alive after this crash out at Murray Bridge North. About 9 p.m. yesterday, a station wagon and truck collided at the intersection of Manham Road and Reedy Creek Road. And the truck was carrying 2 tractors and a baler, and the passenger in the car, a 60-year-old Jervois man, was airlifted to the Royal Adelaide Hospital with critical injuries. Now, his condition is now believed to be serious but non-life-threatening. And the driver of the car, a 63-year-old Jervois woman, and the truck driver, a 50-year-old Victorian man, suffered only minor injuries. And the vehicle's removed and the scene's been cleared overnight, and local traffic police are investigating the matter. So anyone who may have witnessed the crash or captured it on dashcam footage is also asked to contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
Good on you, Matt. Thanks for that.
Senior Constable Matt Brown from SAPOL, 8 to 7. Been talking about Rod Stewart on tonight in Adelaide. There was some query about whether he'd be playing tonight, not because of the usual silliness around will Big Axe come to Adelaide, he'd already committed, but whether his health would hold up. Here is Rod Stewart on 7 News last night.
My dear friends in Adelaide, just to guarantee that the show will be going ahead, I had a slight setback here in Melbourne. I had to miss a show because I had strep throat.
Strep throat? It's not. I can't imagine singing for a couple of hours so soon after having strep throat would be easy. What a pro.
He's a great singer too. He's a brilliant singer, Rod Stewart. But his songs are pretty demanding. Like because they're very. He's got a big range, quite high.
Which sort of throat-related remedy he subscribes to? Sort of.
Oh, I don't know.
Honey and lemon tea, or is it whiskey? Yeah, I was going to say, is he more on the whiskey end of things?
That's rock and roll. Although once they get old, these rock stars, they tend to sort of become. You look at the writers that the Rolling Stones want now, and mix, all these energy drinks. Keith, not so much. Keith Richards, what a hero! How that bloke is alive is just one of the world's great mysteries.
What is the best old-fashioned sore throat remedy? I almost needed one yesterday after calling on Sunday.
Yeah, he did sound a bit rusty.
But that was based on the first half. I did recover a bit in the second half of the game. We might see if we can speculate on the Duttons text line as to what Rod Stewart might have used. Yuri and Beaumont, you're off to a concert tonight, but I understand it's not Rod Stewart. Good morning to you.
Go the D's. How are you, boys? All good?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Yuri. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. My son Christopher is 28. He's hanging out. We're going to the theatre. We're going to see Megadeth and In Flames.
Megadeth?
Yeah. Public Enemy #1. Yeah.
Mate, I had no idea Megadeth was still playing. Megadeth, for those who don't know, they were a massively popular heavy metal band from the 90s.
They're brilliant. I love them. But they're not a bad band. In Flames are pretty good too. We're hanging out for it. It's in the theatre area, so it should be a good night. We're looking forward to it.
Megadeth. Take your earplugs, Yuri. You won't be able to hear our show tomorrow otherwise.
Yeah, we have to go to Bunnings with the wife to get a new smoke alarm, so we definitely got the those earplugs on the list today. Definitely.
Good on you, Yuri.
Okay, boys. See you later.
Yeah, D's had a win on the weekend too. Yuri's up and about this morning. It's a contrast of sounds tonight. It's, of course, Rod Stewart.
Cradle of Filth, for example.
Yeah.
Imagine forming a band and you see your mum. Oh, how's your band going, dear? Yeah, good, Mum. Good. We had rehearsal the other night. What are you thinking about calling yourselves? Oh, we're toying with going with Cradle of Filth.
No, the fun is to imagine her telling her friends at dinner, "What's Jimmy up to? Oh, his band's going really well. He's in Cradle of Filth." It must happen.
There's worse names than that one too.
Well, yeah, you speak from experience. I wonder how many parents out there have had kids who became part of bands that had really regrettable names. Have any of our listeners been part of a band? What was the name? I bet the kind of thing you come up with when you're 15, 16, 17 looks really cringy when you're 40, 50, 60, 70.
I reckon the mother of the lead singer of Cradle of Filth was probably less appalled by it when the royalty check started rolling in, because they actually did all right for themselves, the old Cradle of Filth.
If you were a part of a band or someone in your family was, we want to know the name, if it can be broadcast on air. 8223 or text us on the Dutton's text line, 0448 08 1395. They've got 3 dealerships and 10 franchises in the Adelaide Hills and Murray Bridge. Dutton's, easy to do business with.
Can you remember the name of the band Paul Keating managed in the 60s?
No, what was it?
The Ramrods.
The Ramrods.
They were like a Beatles-style skiffle band with the bobbed haircuts.
That's pretty inoffensive.
Yeah.
Pistol at Hope Valley... Oh, no, for a second I thought Good Day to Be an Arborist was the name of a band, which I thought actually was excellent, but I think Pistol's probably talking about the weather.
It sounds more like a good first album.
I think someone else is calling bunkum on Rod Stewart having strep throat on the Dutton's text line. How does he have strep throat? How does he recover in 3 days? I'm a teacher. I had strep throat last year. No voice for 7 days. Maybe, Rod, this is part of what separates us and the singers.
Maybe just couldn't be bothered playing in Melbourne.
That could be it.
It's a pretty common name, Rod Stewart.
I
went to school with Chris Stewart, my best mate all through school.
Did you?
But I wonder if anyone's listening who's called Rod Stewart. Would that be... It would have made it hard to meet girls, wouldn't it?
Or might have made it easy.
What's your name? Rod Stewart. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you don't look like Rod Stewart. Well...
Blondes have more fun.
Lots of reasons to be interacting with the program. 8223 or text us on 0448 08 1395. Or if indeed you're watching on the Facebook and YouTube live streams, thanks to Foodland Supermarkets, you can participate by leaving us a comment that way.
Jim in Golden Grove says, morning lads, every time Harry and Meghan are mentioned now, I can't stop chanting "We want privacy" from the South Park Worldwide Privacy Tour episode. Absolutely hilarious.
I got to confess, I thought this exactly the same thing, Jim, when they said that they demand to be on the balcony. Like, yeah, because you hate people looking at you, don't you? Yeah. They are just allergic to the concept of being in the spotlight. That's why they have to be on the balcony.
Have you actually seen that episode?
Yes, I have.
The whole thing?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw it via Gogglebox last week on Channel 10, and, geez, it's harsh. It is so harsh, particularly on her. But you reap what you sow. And it was funny.
G'day, it's Merv Hughes here. After years of snoring like a train, the missus sent me for a CPAP Direct sleep test. I'm sleeping quiet and waking up refreshed.
Upgrade to a ResMed 4G connected AirSense 10 Auto all this month and receive a free ResMed mask of your choice. You heard right, a free ResMed mask of your choice. Exclusive to CPAP Direct and partner stores. T's and C's apply.
Find your local store at cpap.com.au.
If I had advice for my younger self, I'd spend more time with good friends.
And enjoy the beauty of the outdoors.
And have lots of happy hours.
I would say make the move to AFL because you wish you had done it sooner.
Take the first step to great retirement living. Search AFL First Step to book your Discovery Tour today.
Hi, Alan Lark from Mannix Air. In our harsh Australian climate, there's nothing better than a Mitsubishi Heavy Industries wall split to cool or heat your home. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries is highly awarded, super efficient and super quiet. A quality choice for your home. Best of all, purchase one now at Adelaide's best prices from Mannix and get up to $250 cash bonus from Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. Conditions apply. For a free quote, call 1300 Mannix or go online anytime.
Introducing Nissan Future Value Business Plus, a new fleet finance solution for small to medium businesses offering competitive weekly repayments including the cost of scheduled servicing for the loan term. Available now on the all-new Nissan Qashqai ST. Plan confidently for the road ahead with Nissan Future Value Business Plus. Visit nissan.com.au/business plus or contact your local Nissan dealer. Approved ABN registered small to medium fleet applicants of Nissan Financial Services. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible morning shower and 28 with the 7 o'clock news. I'm Kendall Brentig.
Physio Extra for Locomat robotic technology treating stroke, cerebral palsy, brain and spinal cord injuries. Visit physioextra.com.
Legislation creating the legal framework for the voice referendum is expected to pass federal parliament today. More from Zach De Silva.
All eyes will be on the Senate, where the government hopes to pass the referendum machinery bill. The legislation is a crucial step ahead of the voice vote. The coalition is expected to oppose the bill. It wants equal funding for yes and no ad campaigns. Labor says it won't use taxpayer money for this purpose. But the Greens, Jackie Lambie and David Pocock will support the legislation, giving the government the numbers it needs. If it passes, the referendum will be held sometime between October and December.
The Chinese president has told his Russian counterpart they share similar goals as he begins a 3-day visit to Russia. Xi Jinping has sat down with Vladimir Putin for a 4-hour discussion ahead of formal talks. Mr. Putin says he'll discuss China's proposal for peace in Ukraine in the days ahead. SA Power Networks crews have worked through the night to get electricity back on to thousands of properties following yesterday's wild weather. There are still 33 outages affecting almost 2,000 homes and businesses. At one stage yesterday, more than 30,000 were blacked out due to storm damage. The SES had over 400 calls for help, mainly for trees down. Police are investigating an attempted break-in at Modbury in the early hours of this morning. Senior Constable Matt Brown says 2 men tried to break into a house in Berryman Drive by using a drill to try and remove the door.
The male occupant disturbed the intruders, who fled the scene on bicycles. One of the men was wearing a checkered shirt and had a headlamp on his bike helmet, while the other man was wearing a black T-shirt with white writing. So anyone who may have witnessed suspicious activity in the area is asked to call Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
The latest report from the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says the world has all the tools it needs to tackle global warming, but it isn't using them effectively. More from the BBC's Matt McGrath.
The report makes clear that the actions the world takes over the next 7 years or so will resonate for centuries. If the temperatures rise between 2 and 3 degrees for long enough, the great ice sheets of West Antarctica and Greenland will melt, pushing up sea levels for thousands of years to come. But despite the worrying trends, many see great hope in the new study. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called it a survival guide for humanity. As he points out, speed is the key to keeping the planet livable.
Rod Stewart fans are breathing a sigh of relief with confirmation he will be performing at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre tonight.
My dear friends in Adelaide, just to guarantee that the show will be going ahead, I had a slight setback here in Melbourne. I had to miss a show because I had strep throat.
Cyndi Lauper and John Stevens are also on the bill, and there are still some tickets available. And billionaire media mogul Rupert Murdoch has revealed he's engaged to his new girlfriend of 6 months, less than a year after his divorce from fourth wife Jerry Hall was finalised. The 92-year-old shared the news in an interview with one of his own publications, the New York Post. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
4 early bird winners will score $250,000 in the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery. Deadline midnight Friday.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Adelaide Shane McAdam has been sent straight to the AFL Tribunal for his bump on Giants defender Jacob Weir. McAdam is facing a ban of at least 3 matches. Port Adelaide's players, meantime, are set to train this morning as they prepare for Saturday's blockbuster against Collingwood at the MCG. The Powers full of confidence after a brilliant first-up win against Brisbane. And assistant coach Nathan Bassett says the form of ruckman Scott Lycett was especially pleasing.
Yeah, I think Scooter's intent was terrific in the ruck. He hadn't played an AFL game since round 4 last year, and to come out, be a good physical presence. His follow-up and hunt was very good, and he contributed well within that midfield group.
But the Power will be without defender Trent McKenzie, who's been ruled out of the clash with an ankle injury. Let's go to cricket, and Australia's players will train today ahead of tomorrow night's final ODI clash against India in Chennai. The series is locked at 1-1 with the winner to take it out. The World Surf League has confirmed 2 Australian events for this year's second-tier Challenger Series to be held on the Gold Coast and in Sydney. They're going to be happening in May. And former Juventus striker Cristian Benino has been shown a red card in a third-tier match in Italy for urinating on the side of the pitch. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Like you do. Now checking 5AA traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
Good morning. Starting to get busy in the usual spots this morning, including South Road at Mile End. Seeing some slow activity around Elizabeth North. That's for works Main North Road near Walmer Road. Got a lane out of action at Munopara this morning. Main North Road near Curtis Road. 2 lanes out of action at Bedford Park. That's for those works in the Southern Expressway heading into the city. Got speeds reduced. And keep your eyes peeled for a camera this morning. Everard Avenue at Keswick. Sign up for MobileCard at mobilecard.com.au for your chance to win a 30k travel voucher and other great prizes. MobileCard. Your business sorted. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
A possible morning shower heading for 28. Sunny tomorrow, also 28. Thursday, mostly sunny, 24 and 25 for Friday. Right now, 19. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
Seven after 7. Good morning to you if you're joining us for the first time on this Tuesday, the 21st of March. We'll jump into the news of the morning. Sort of a mixed bag of international stories and comparisons for Adelaide and South Australia in our news wrap this morning. Also, buyer's regret. We'll talk about a big ticket item that went up for sale recently that turned out to be a little bit too big. That's in a moment. We've been inundated with people based on a conversation we had before the break with Yuri, who called in, very much looking forward to not Rod Stewart tonight, but Megadeth. A conversation that started getting into the realm of death metal and embarrassing band names. We've got some people with some suggestions coming in now. Carmine in Paynham's called in. Morning to you, Carmine.
Oh, g'day, Will and Dave. Dave, years ago in my misspent youth, a bunch of us friends got together and we, everyone was sort of playing music, not that well, but we formed a band. I don't know how we did that, but we called our band Happy Hour. And so we'd be, all of a sudden, we're sort of supporting bands. And so people would rock up at the gigs and say, well, when's Happy Hour on? So the story was, they say, oh, they're on in about 15 minutes. And,
Where's my half-price pint?
Yeah, exactly. So then out of nowhere, we'd sort of started playing here and there. We weren't that great, but we all had a bit of fun. And all of a sudden, one of the guys says, I think we're going on a tour to Melbourne, supporting a band in Melbourne. And we're going, you're kidding. So there's quite a few academics and quite a few prominent lawyers that are still currently working in the industry that you'd probably know, but it was a bit of fun.
What did you play, mate? What was your role in the band?
I played very well. They said to me, well, what can you play? And I said, well, I don't know. They said, well, what about, we need a sort of a percussion section. So I went out and bought some bloody bongo drums and stuff like that and started beating. And
fantastic.
It was all good fun. But
the bongo player.
Yes, the bongo player. And we I think a few times we got too drunk and
you'd need an open neck shirt for that. I'm imagining, Carmine.
Oh yeah.
You know what, Carmine? That is a great story. We're going to send you a pack of Kyneton's hot cross buns, a variety gift pack for you, because that's tremendous.
So Friday night drinks, you can imagine Carmine saying, "You might remember me. I was the bongo player in Happy Hour."
Yeah, exactly right.
And people would remember it. Oh, of course.
Pat in Barossa Valley's called in. Morning to you, Pat.
Yeah, good morning, boys. We're going to go and see Rod Stewart and Sydney tonight. I reckon it'll be a good show. But I want to talk about a show I saw on Saturday night. Rose Tattoo at the Bridgeway was possibly the closest to the... You'd think you were stepping back in time.
Was it the Rose Tattoo, Pat, or a cover band?
The Rose Tattoo.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Rose Tattoo. And I still can't hear properly. Angry Anderson upstage. On stage, I think there was an original drummer and an original bass. I'm not sure about the guy on the lead guitar, slide guitar. You know how they play all in the background, there's a slide really loud going. And it was the best thing. Besides the George Thorogood concert in Pemberton, I reckon Angry Anderson and Rose Tattoo, you cannot not see them. But it's It's the loudest concert I've been to in my life.
Oh, that's awesome, Pat. Good on you, mate. Thanks for calling in. 8223 our number. Talking of people who either were in bands with embarrassing names or family members were, Anthony on the Foodland Supermarkets live stream says mate's school band in the 80s was called Punch Your Grandma. We even had T-shirts made for it. Thank you, Anthony. Kristen says my son's band at high school, he's now 32, was called Dropped at Birth.
Hey, surely
Kristen says they're actually pretty good.
Someone called BD's texted in saying one of my friends was in a band called Lubricated Goat. Now, Lubricated Goat, they're a hugely important band in Australian musical history. They were the first people ever to appear naked on television, men.
Wow.
First ever male nudity was Stu Spasm, was his name, the lead singer of Lubricated Goat. And it was on our good friend Andrew Denton's show, The Money or the Gun.
Unbelievable.
There you go. They played at the Unibar.
Embarrassing band names that you were either a part of or someone in your family was. Let us know, 8223 or text us on the Duttons text line. As I said at the top, mixed bag for Adelaide and South Australia in terms of some international gongs. Think tank FIVEAA have released their latest affordability index. This really surprised me. Adelaide, in terms of housing affordability, is now worse than Brisbane and worse than Perth. In fact, the 14th least affordable of 94 major markets across 8 countries that were surveyed.
It's more expensive than New York City.
More expensive, real estate-wise, than New York City. So the way in which the methodology for this is a thing called the median multiple, which sounds complicated, but it's actually really simple to understand. Median house price divided by median gross household income. So line up all the house prices, pick the middle one. Line up all the incomes, pick the middle one. What's the relationship between the two? Adelaide's multiple is 8.2. 8.2 is the measure. The point at which this whole idea says things are extremely unaffordable is 5.1. So we are significantly into the realm of the unaffordable house market. I'll just give you a sense of where we sit. Just behind Miami. Just behind Miami and Greater London are the two closest to us.
Only without the Art Deco houses.
Sydney is second. Hong Kong's first. Then you go Vancouver, Honolulu, San Jose, Los Angeles, Auckland, San Francisco, Melbourne, Toronto, San Diego, Greater London, Miami, Adelaide. Unbelievable.
Well,
you always think of Adelaide still as being an affordable option in Australia.
But, you know, think about those McGain ads. And, like, we had one last week, our good friends at McGain, 2 houses. One was in Hackham. Now, Hackham is not St. Peter's. You know, nothing wrong with Hackham, but it's not what you'd call a dress circle suburb in that sort of coveted la-di-da sense of the word. One of the houses down there was more than $500,000. Now, the idea of paying $500,000 for anything in Hackham a few years ago seemed totally laughable.
It's changed a lot quickly, but I figured everywhere was. I didn't realise we were outpacing places like Brisbane. So that was surprising. On the good news front, Time Magazine have released their list of the world's greatest places. It's a recommendation of 50 spots to visit.
Don't tell me Hackham's in there.
No, Hackham didn't quite make it, 51 I think, but they didn't make the final cut-off. Kangaroo Island made it. Of all the places, 50 places in the world. And the way in which they sort of framed this, they were talking about places that offered new and exciting experiences. So it wasn't your typical, you know, the Trevi Fountain or something or other. It was places you hadn't been before. Kangaroo Island and Brisbane both made the list out of Australia. But another gong for KI in what is an international publication. It's not just us here banging on about how good it is. The rest of the world's beginning to notice how good Kangaroo Island is.
There's a big story about to come up involving Kangaroo Island. I was going to do a breaking note about it at some point.
Looking forward to that.
And it goes to that point, though. Is KI over-promising to the world in terms of... And obviously, they had the tragic loss of what was mega high-end accommodation in the Southern Ocean Lodge.
It's going to be back soon.
Yeah, well, that's right. They're rebuilding it. But the Cliffs Golf Course is coming, which is hugely exciting. But as an accommodation destination, is there enough on the island to sustain demand? And when you've got the New York Times saying this is a must-visit...
Time Magazine.
Well, and the New York Times.
Well, they did too,
yeah,
right.
About 3 months ago, the New York Times and now Time Magazine saying you got to go to KI.
It's a
we
good
better
point.
make sure that when people get there, they've got somewhere decent to
Have
stay.
you ever bought something and immediately regretted it? That was the case of the person who bought the Crazy Horse sign. I know you're surprised.
Could have seen that one coming.
The Crazy Horse sign, Hindley Street, that was auctioned off for about...
Don't tell me. They said,
Actually, do I really need the Crazy Horse sign?
Oh, this is such a peculiar story. So they bought it for $24,000, ended up being about $26,000 after fees and charges. The owner, the person who bought it said she wanted to hang it over her pool. Turns out it's really big, and you can't really just hang it over your pool. It didn't fit in her house, and she has nowhere to store it. So she's listed it now for $27,000. Have a listen.
I got swept in the motion of happiness. Logistically, of actually craning it over my house and into a pool is not going to happen. No one sells things under price. So I'm just going to go with a little bit over than what I pay it for, but not much more for a piece of history. Sex sells. It's just history in the making.
$27,000 now she wants for it.
So it's gone up.
And this is the curious bit, because obviously, some people who are collectors of high art will say, or historic pieces like in a museum, will say they want it to stay in the country from which it came. She's mandated that no one outside Adelaide can buy this. It needs to stay near its spiritual home on Hindley Street.
Well, it is part of our rich cultural heritage.
It really is. It should be. In fact, she should donate it to the Adelaide Museum. What
happened to the chicken salt sign at the northern end of Footy Park? I always thought that was part of their heritage. Yeah, Matani.
Stick it on your hot chips.
We used to call it the chicken salt end.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's got to be around somewhere.
That'll look good.
What did you buy and then regret? Give us a call on 8223 0000. We've got a $100 voucher to Barbecue Adelaide Weber stores from our good mate Barnsey to give away.
Barnsey.
When have you bought something and then immediately thought, well, that was a bad move? Or shortly thereafter you realised that was a dud purchase? 8223 0000. Or text us on the Duttons text line. You could win that $100 voucher to the Barbecue Adelaide Weber stores, where you could get started on getting your new Weber, or indeed just go and buy that huge range of spices and rubs and things he has, which is the biggest in the Southern Hemisphere.
Had some of that gringo chimichurri.
It's good
stuff last night on some grilled chicken. Terrific.
Our resident stats man, Ben Jordan's tweeted us. He says the first $1 million suburb in Adelaide was College Park back in 2003. Tennyson followed in 2004, along with Unley Park, Springfield and Gilbert in 2005. Over 105 suburbs, or now 25% of suburbs in Adelaide, now have an average over $1 million.
25 suburbs.
25% of suburbs.
25%?
105 suburbs have $1 million average.
That's staggering.
It blows your mind. Let's check traffic.
Thanks, Will. Got a 3-car smash to look out for at Renown Park. It's on the north-south motorway near Torrens Road. Got delays inbound at the moment. Starting to get busy South Road at Mile End. Slow going for works at Virginia. Old Port Wakefield Road near Gawler Road. Speeds are now to 40. With cameras this morning, Mawson Lakes Boulevard, Mawson Lakes, and Tennyson Streets at Karata Park. Host Plus has been named Super Ratings Super Fun of the Year for 2023. That's a plus. Issued by Host Plus Pty Limited. Check the PDS and TMD at hostplus.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
5AA Mornings with Matthew Pantelis.
Scott at Glenunga. Hello, Scott.
Are they going to trial some cameras at South Road, Torrensville, etc., and then maybe roll them out to catch people using mobile phones while driving?
Yes, definitely all of that.
My chief concern is, with technology, what if it goes wrong?
Weekday mornings from 9.
There's a photo. So if you're doing the right thing, the photo would prove you're doing the right thing.
On 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
The heat is on, and air conditioning is one of those necessities we just can't live without. So if your car's aircon isn't keeping you cool, you need an Automasters aircon service. And that funny smell probably isn't a dog, but an unhealthy bacteria build-up in the system. But don't worry, we'll sort that out for you too. Beat the heat. Keep cool with Fix Now, Pay Later options available. Book now. For great service guaranteed, call 1300 Automasters.
When you die, who gets what? Will your kids or relatives argue over your estate? Will your beneficiaries be protected? Will your estate be tax effective? Will your wishes be respected and carried out? Speak with Donlan Lawyers now for peace of mind. Donlan Lawyers for wills and estate planning. Visit donlanlawyers.com. That's donlanlawyers.com.
Have you heard about the sunrise swing banana? Or the morning stroll banana? The kicking goals banana? The rowing banana? The mowing banana? The frisbee throwing banana? Well, now you have. You see, whatever you think, there's a banana to make your body sing.
What if your next holiday was always parked just outside the front door? Dave Benson Caravans sell your next holiday, and unlike an expensive overseas holiday, your dollar remains as an asset, your caravan, With over 120 new or used caravans and campers on display under one roof, the DBC Caravan Professionals can tailor your next family holiday to your lifestyle and needs. Your Australian journey awaits and begins at Dave Benson Caravans, 64 Grand Junction Road, Kilburn.
Have your rent and electricity bills gone through the roof? Hot water is one of the most expensive parts of your electricity bill, but EcoVantage could help. If your rent is below $400 per week, your home might qualify for a free EcoVantage heat pump. Ask your landlord to request a free changeover today. Keep your bills down and your landlord gets a free hot water service. Win-win. Hit up your landlord and ask for EcoVantage today. EcoVantage.com.au. T's and C's apply.
The heat is on, and if your car's aircon isn't keeping you cool, you need an Automasters aircon service. Beat the heat. Keep cool with Fix Now, Pay Later options available. For great service guaranteed, call 1300 Automasters.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
22 minutes after 7. Most of Lord Howe Island has been shut down due to the threat posed by an airborne fungus, which sounds to me dangerously like the plot of The Last of Us.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
I think it's the plants that are at risk, not the humans.
It didn't arrive from Jakarta.
No.
Happily.
But Professor Robert Park will be able to explain it better. He's from the Plant Breeding Institute at the University of Sydney. Professor Park, good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Yes, and it's the plants, not the people, that are at risk.
Yes, good, good. Well, we got that out the way first. What sort of plants and how at risk are they from this fungus?
Yeah, look, a lot of your listeners might know of the plant family, the Myrtaceae. This includes a lot of native Australian plants like eucalypts, tea trees, and lily pillies. So it's this family of plants, many species in this family of plants that are vulnerable to this pathogen.
So the island itself, Professor, I reckon a lot of our listeners would have gone there, even though it's an easier sort of trip from New South Wales. It's only a few clicks east of Port Macquarie, really, as the crow flies. But it's a uniquely special sort of biodiverse environment, isn't it, Lord Howe Island? What's the fear as to what it could ultimately do, this fungus?
Yeah, it is very unique. Quite rightly, you identify that. It's got a number of plant species that are only found there. There's more than 100, and out of those, there's at least 2 that are very vulnerable to this new pathogen. What we've seen in Australia, this pathogen is a fungus that infects plants. It arrived here in 2010 and spread all the way up the east coast very rapidly, and we've already seen 2 of our native Myrtaceae species here that were originally threatened are now really endangered. So we worry that on Lord Howe Island this may happen, and that particularly these 2 species that are only found there could be under severe threat.
Could it affect animal life as well? I know it's a big bird watching destination.
Yeah, look, the impact that these pathogens have on animal populations is through altering the ecology, the plant ecology. So, we have animals, that are dependent on particular plant species. The disappearance of those plant species clearly has very severe knock-on effects on animal populations.
So this stuff, myrtle rust, hasn't been on mainland Australia for all that long. How did it wind up here?
Yeah, so it originates in South America. We've got lots of closely related plant species in South America and Australia. This is because the continents were once joined many, many years ago. And as a result of that, the commonality in the plant species we've got in those 2 areas, some of the pathogens that occur solely in one area can infect plant species in the other. So this pathogen arose initially in South America. It then spread into Hawaii. 2005, I think it was, and then in 2010 it turned up in Australia. It moves around on wind currents. We have examples of rusts that infect wheat that have actually moved all the way from Africa, if you can believe it, on high altitude winds into Australia. So they blow across vast distances on wind, and we believe that's how the rust got to Lord Howe Island, most likely on wind currents from Australia.
Yeah, and reading some of the coverage of this interstate, if you rock up at Lord Howe Island at the moment thinking you can go for some unfettered walk through Mother Nature, you might be in for a surprise, because apparently 70% of the island's in virtual lockdown as a result of it.
Yeah, 70% of the island is actually a permanent park preserve. It was established in 1982 due to its biodiversity, its significance in terms of biodiversity. And yeah, I mean, I've said that these things spread around on wind. You'd say, well, why have they locked that part of the island down? Well, they were also moved around on people's clothing. And we've got examples where we think some of these rusts have been brought into Australia accidentally on contaminated clothing. So even people just walking around, like you say, rocking up, going for a bit of a hike or whatever, could inadvertently spread these things with their clothing. So yeah, this is the reason why they've actually restricted access.
Fascinating stuff. Professor Robert Park from the Plant Breeding Institute at the University of Sydney. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
26 minutes after 7, it's then our attention to sport. Last night on the Sports Show, Treaders and Timmy G got the news about Shane McAdam's suspension. It came through late. Here's how it played out.
So that means he's going to face a ban, Timmy, of 3 matches or more.
Are you serious?
Sorry, let's break this down. So Pickett gets offered what? 2.
Took it.
And left the ground and bumped, right?
Looked far worse.
But let's just both say, both went to attempt to bump, both had head-high contact.
Yeah.
How is one worth 3 or more and one is worth 2? I don't get that.
So this collision's been graded careless conduct, severe impact, high contact. That is as high as you're going to get.
But take that back. It's not severe impact. The player...
Jacob Weir got up.
Left the field and came back to play.
He was cleared of the...
And passed the concussion test.
Yeah. And I've got to say...
They've got this wrong.
Pickett one looked like he launched higher, so therefore he'd got more chance of hitting head and the like. I couldn't see much difference between Pickett's and McAdam's. McAdam's slightly less
They're genuine
dangerous.
Shirt fronts.
Yeah.
Genuine shirt fronts. So the only difference is
so I thought 1 to 2.
Yeah.
And I think Graham Corn said the exact same thing.
And Pickett, you go 2.
So where in anybody's logical thinking can it go straight to tribunal?
They've graded it wrong. Careless, absolutely. High contact was upper chest and the head whiplash. No one wants to see that. We understand the concussion. But that is not a severe impact.
There you go. 2 of the towering greats of the Port Adelaide Football Club, Tim Ginniver and Warren Treadway, saying even,
you've got a decision wrong when that's the case, don't you?
100%. It's not a crow's thing.
To be fair to them,
it's a logical thing. They're the word
thinkers of the game.
Well, they are thinkers, but it just makes no sense at all.
Well, I tell you what we're going to do. We'll put this issue to bed once and for all after 7:30.
I feel a bit of donk coming along.
Let's put it to the jury. There's an astute football-watching audience here on 5AA. They've seen a lot. We'll see what they think in the jury coming up at 7:45 this morning. 5AA News is coming up. Back with Phil Curry in the nation's capital before the jury convenes.
G'day, South Australia. The Cheats here. Over the years, I've seen some great South Australian teams, but the best has to be the team from BL Shipway, who I've known for over 30 years. They've been looking after the state's hydraulic and pneumatic needs since 1953. You can find them on Richmond Road with stock on hand from quality brands like Ryco, Rexroth, Hydac and Enerpac. If you can't get to them, they'll send a Ryco 24/7 van to you anytime, anywhere. blshipway.com. a South Australian team you can count on.
Do you want to improve your memory, concentration and learning ability? There's a one-a-day formula called Caruso's Mega Memory, which contains the herbs Brahmi and Ginkgo biloba. Brahmi improves memory, learning and supports mental concentration and clarity. Ginkgo supports healthy blood circulation, brain function and brain performance. Caruso's Mega Memory is made in Australia and comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Try Caruso's Mega Memory, available from leading health stores and pharmacies. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
Meet Tim, a proud South Australian CFMEU member.
I've seen a remarkable difference between a union-run job compared to the residential hellhole I used to work in. Conditions in residential are horrible. I would always encourage people to join the union. If we didn't have a union, we'd have no rights. Site conditions would be horrible. Workers' rights are just not protected. With the union, we get protection. For me and in my eyes, the CFMEU is a union of opportunity.
We built this city. The CFMEU. Your union of opportunity.
Oh, sure, we'll help you with your groceries. Your cleaning too. That's right, you can continue living in your own home. Yes, we have a great health and wellness team. Oh, 72? Yeah, no, that's the perfect age to take up photography as a hobby. Figuring out aged care for yourself or a loved one? Start with Anglicare SA. Our experts will help you navigate aged care and personalise the services you need. Search Anglicare SA Aged Care. Anglicare SA. Together, we change lives.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible morning shower high of 28. With the 7:30 news, I'm Kendall Brettig.
Try Locomat robotic gait training technology for neurological issues at Physio Extra. Visit physioextra.com.
Crews have worked through the night to get more properties back online after yesterday's widespread blackouts. 2,000 are still without power. Paul Roberts from SA Power Network says they'll continue to send direct updates to those affected.
We will continue to update customers. About 85% of customers are on our SMS system. As crews get to site, they update the information so people will have a bit more information to plan.
The SES has responded to around 400 call-outs, mostly for fallen trees and damaged property. The head of the UN says climate change is a ticking time bomb, but urgent action can prevent a catastrophe. The latest report from the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says warming's rapidly altering the atmosphere, oceans, land and frozen poles, causing widespread extreme weather. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres says the Paris Agreement's target of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees within the next decade is likely to be surpassed.
The climate time bomb is ticking. But today's IPCC report is a how-to guide to defuse the climate time bomb. It is a survival guide for humanity. As it shows, the 1.5 degree limit is achievable, but it will take a quantum leap in climate action.
The Voice referendum will soon be a step closer, with Federal Parliament expected to pass a key bill today. The legislation sets up the legal framework for the vote later this year. It'll be supported by the Greens and 2 independents, but the coalition's likely to oppose it. TikTok's expected to be banned from all official government devices as early as this week. A security review of the Chinese-owned app has been handed to the Home Affairs Minister. The move would bring us into line with the US, Britain and New Zealand. Police are hunting 2 men after an attempted break-in at Modbury overnight. Around 2:30, police were called to a house in Berryman Drive after reports the pair had tried to break in by using a drill to remove the door. The male occupant disturbed the intruders, who fled the scene on bikes. State legislation to provide workers with 15 days of paid family and domestic violence leave will pass Parliament this week. Minister for Women, Katrine Hildyard, says it complements federal legislation covering the private sector.
This will mean that all public sector workers in South Australia and all local government workers in South Australia will now be able to access this really important paid leave. These laws are about making sure that everyone can access that leave when they're in those really difficult situations.
Statistics released last week show 23% of women have experienced violence from an intimate partner. Australian actor Terry Norris has died at the age of 92. He starred in dozens of films during his career and was best known for his roles in the TV shows Bellbird and Cop Shop. He also served as a Victorian Labor MP for 10 years. And it's Harmony Day. Schools, workplaces and communities across Australia will recognise diversity and promote acceptance, inclusiveness and respect. March the 21st is recognised by the UN as the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
4 early bird winners will score $250,000 in the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery. Deadline midnight Friday.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. The bump is very much back in the headlines, with Shane McAdams set to face the AFL Tribunal tonight. That's after being directed there by the match review officer. It means McAdam is likely to face a ban of 3 matches or more. Melbourne's Cossie Pickett received a 2-match suspension for a bump he made on Bulldogs midfielder Bailey Smith. And North Melbourne defender Harry Sheezel has been named the first AFL Rising Star nominee of the year. Let's go to tennis now, and some interesting changes could be on the cards for the World Tennis Rankings after the Indian Wells tournament. Craig Gabriel reports.
Carlos Alcaraz returned to the world number 1 ranking with his victory in Indian Wells, but in 2 weeks' time, Novak Djokovic may get it back if Alcaraz does not defend all the points he gained for winning Miami last year. Daniil Medvedev will return to the top 5, while on the women's side, Aryna Sabalenka stays as world number 2 behind Iga Swiatek, but Elena Rybakina will move to a career high of 7. The most interesting move will be for Rafa Nadal. He'll drop to 13, and that will mark his first time out of the top 10 after 912 consecutive weeks.
Briefly elsewhere, a back injury will keep Socceroos midfielder Aaron Moy out of Australia's friendlies against Ecuador. And Australia's women's cricket captain Meg Lanning has hit the winning runs, hitting 32 off 22 balls in the Delhi Capitals' 9-wicket win over Mumbai in the women's IPL. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
Brown Park got a 3-car smash this morning. It's on the north-south motorway. It's near Torrens Road, and you've got a few delays if you're coming in that way this morning, so keep it in mind. Starting to get busy, South Road at Mile End. Slow going for works at Virginia. Good lane out of action there. Old Port Wakefield Road near Gawler Road speeds at 40. With cameras this morning, Everard Avenue, Keswick, and Springbank Road at Panorama. Fill up with Shell V-Power 98, the premium fuel designed to deliver greater efficiency and improve performance. It's a decision you can feel good about. Details online. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
A possible morning shower and 28. Sunny tomorrow, also 28. Mostly sunny Thursday, 24 and 25 for Friday. Right now, 19. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Do you want to win the value of your car's service back? Book your service online at North Point Toyota, and one lucky person per month has the chance to have the cost of their service paid back. So book your next service online and you'll automatically be entered in the draw. Book your service online at North Point Toyota for your chance to have your service paid back. It's the North Point way. Hillcrest, Prospect, Port Augusta or northpointtoyota.com.au. Some T's and C's apply.
Next time you're outside, pop your fist in the sky. Give the sun a good old fist bump. Because with Go Sunny Solar, your new solar panels won't just be on the house, they'll be on the sun. Their anytime payment plan with no outlay means the money you save through solar pays off your new solar panels instead of those big old electricity bills. Let Go Sunny Solar sort the rebates and the tricky stuff and just thank our beautiful Aussie sun. Visit gosunny.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
Twenty-two to 8, the jury coming up very shortly. John Blake before 8 o'clock. We'll see how Lucy got on with the Sting, as voted by you for her to watch after 8. We'll get a review. She's a tough reviewer, tough critic. So you've got to be careful with putting your favourites to Lucy. To
fast developing a reputation, Lucy, as the East German judge. We've been talking this morning about excellent and obscure and borderline offensive or just bizarre Adelaide band names. Well, our next guest, he's a regular and beloved part of our program. He was also, aside from now being the national political editor for the Australian Financial Review and a former life, Phil Curry was the drummer for the cult band Happy Davros. How are you, Phil?
Yeah, great. How are you guys?
We're good. Are they still playing, Happy Davros?
No, we broke up in 94, mate.
Oh, no. Can you
Anniversary next year.
You over it, or are you guys still not talking?
I still look back misty-eyed. Those Saturday nights at the Austral Hotel.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it out in the back at the Austral sort of deal?
Yeah, in the beer garden, yeah. We had a sort of every other Saturday night. That was great fun. I loved it. It was the best fun I ever had in my life, actually. Yeah.
That was around the same time. There used to be a really good band who played there called Seaweed Evans. Do you remember them?
No, I don't. No. I remember What's Your Dog's Name. They were all right. and the Dead Bollocks. They were terrific. They used to play down at the venue in Highley Street. Not to be missed.
The Dead Bollocks.
They used to tie their lead singer to a chocolate wheel and spin him around and throw lettuces at him from Caruso's Fruit and Nut Barn of Jetty Road, Glenelg. It was a bizarre night. But they were good musicians.
That sounds unreal. Yeah.
Anyway.
Totally like my cup of tea.
more fun than the Senate.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's more fun than Albo looks like he's going to have in the Senate. This housing plan that he came up with looked like it's going to get knocked off by the Greens.
Well, at this stage, yeah. I mean, so you know, we're sort of in this mentality where there's just a limitless supply of money. So every time the government puts something up to try and fix a problem, the Greens and the Independents go, that's not enough. We need billions more, you know, as if it's just, just grab it off the shelf. So Albanese went to the election with a plan to try and build some affordable housing, and what they were going to do is put $10 billion and invest it with the Future Fund, and then the earnings from that fund would be used on an annual basis to build rental homes and things like that. And social housing, but even if the Future Fund gets a decent rate of return, it's only going to be about $500 million a year, which will build you a few homes. But the Greens actually want to build 1 million homes in 20 years, so they reckon the states and the Commonwealth should be putting in $5 billion a year every year, which is just ludicrous. And the Parliamentary Budget Office, they're the sort of independent assessors who cost policies, and they did it for the Greens, and they just said, look, it's just so implausible. I mean, technically, even if you could do it.
Shouldn't these things be demand-driven by the market, though? I mean, the idea that the government is meant to be... I mean, the government's got a huge role to play in terms of making land available, but to actually go the next step of being responsible for building homes seems to be something you should leave more to the Kadjamadios of the world than Albo.
Yeah, look, to a point, Dave. I mean, the Kadjamadios of the world build homes for, you and me, but there's a big need for social housing, affordable housing, and it's just not being met by the market, so governments are more... It's actually more the responsibility of state governments than the federal government, to be honest. But it's just, it's just one of the way we are these days. Everyone wants the government to do everything, and so, what Albanese's proposing won't solve the whole problem, but it'll help, and the states have to help too. But what the Greens want is just this sort of nuclear option where the taxpayer pays for everything. So it just is what it is. I mean, I don't think the government's going to bow to it, because what the Greens are demanding is impossible. But it's not just the Greens. Lambie and Pocock, whose support they also need, they're also saying it's inadequate. So they'll either have to stump up more or just not pass it, I think. And so that's one of the 4 bills they need to get through the Parliament this fortnight. They'll get the one through today, which will set up the referendum, on the voice. The machinery bill, but then there's a couple of others. The other one's a climate change bill. They're struggling with.
Phil, our leaders are currently walking a bit of a tightrope when it comes to China, announcing an alliance structure that will provide for the building of nuclear subs to contain Chinese aggression, at the same time as trying to re-engage on the trade front. There was another layer of complexion overnight with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin meeting in Russia. How do you expect our leaders in Canberra to respond to that meeting overnight?
Well, I think if somehow China brokers a peace out of this with the Russians, that would be welcome. If you remember when Russia invaded Ukraine, a year ago, whenever, I mean, the then government, Scott Morrison and Defence Minister Peter Dutton and others, every day were telling China, you alone can stop this. You have the power over Russia to stop this, the influence. And far from that, China sat back and, supported the war. They've always refused. They've never condemned it. They're helping the Russians with arms. They helped when the rest of the world put embargoes on Russian, trade embargoes, and froze their funds and all these sorts of things. The Chinese helped them out, to mitigate against the effects of these sanctions. So the Chinese have done nothing but actually aid this war. For those again saying, China's a benign country and doesn't pose a threat, just consider that. But now it appears, that maybe, hopefully, that she has sort of read the room and seen, how Russia's been ostracised, and he's been, engaging with the rest of the world in the last few months, starting to reach out to countries like Australia and the rest again, and hopefully, he's gone over there with good intent to use what influence he can to get Putin to see sense. But, that seems to be the tone of the language. But, we'll know probably by the end of the day or tomorrow whether, that is really what he's doing, or he's just going over to support him. But the fact he's there, he's used the word peace, and I think he's going to make a call to the Ukrainian president, Zelensky. That's a fairly big gesture. So, maybe China can use their powers of bad for good for once.
Absolutely. Good on you, Phil. Let's start putting our minds to the Happy Davros Reformation Tour for the 2024 anniversary. Good on you, mate. Phil Curry from the Australian Financial Review. Great name, Happy Davros. Davros, of course, being the leader of the Daleks.
Yeah, that's right.
Geez, how terrifying, weren't they? Well, one of my favourite pocket cartoons from the old Punch magazine had a Dalek at the bottom of a flight of stairs saying, well, there go our plans for world domination. I think Phil rattled off 3 worthy winners of our talker this morning about band names you've been weird band names you or your family members have been associated with.
What's your dog's name?
That was sensational. 822 or text us on the Dutton's text line. You might also like to be part of our trial by jury.
In the criminal justice system, all defendants are innocent until proven guilty, either by confession, plea bargain, or trial by jury. This is one of those trials.
Simple one this morning from the world of the AFL, where look, we're going to get in before the AFL Tribunal gets it wrong. Pickett or McAdam? Who should have received more weeks? Pickett or McAdam?
Our lines are open now.
Your verdict is Pickett or McAdam. You remember, you remain entirely anonymous. So if you're going to say something that's desperately unpopular in South Australia, you can do so without being hounded down the street.
You want to be a contrarian?
Yeah, you
will
can do
have
that.
the veil of anonymity.
You can do that. 8223 0000.
Anonymity. It's hard to say that.
Anonymity. You can render your verdict in just a moment. Let's check traffic.
Thanks, Will. At Brown Park, got a 3-car smash on the north-south motorway. It's near Torrens Road. You've got a few delays if you're coming in that way at the moment, but should be gone pretty soon. Busy right now, South Road at Mile End. Slow going for works at FIVEAA today. Got a lane out of action there. At Glen Osmond Road near Fullerton Road. Got speeds at 40 right now. And we've got cameras Mitchell Street, Millswood. And you'll find another one today, Whites Road at Paralawi. OTRs, 8 wraps, sandwiches and salads made with fresh quality ingredients. Only $5 Monday to Wednesday for a limited time. OTR, making life easy. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Need a forklift? Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Toyota is the world's #1 forklift brand with a great range of pallet jacks, walkie stackers and reach forklifts right up to their leading Toyota counterbalance forklifts. Legendary reliability and safety with cleaner, greener electric options, Toyota can tailor the right forklift solution for you. It's all part of the Toyota Forklift Advantage. For more, visit toyotamaterialhandling.com.au.
Get a Toyota forklift. If you need to fix your pipes, call Precise. Call Precise. If your toilet's blocking up, call Precise. Call Precise. If your lights aren't turning on, or your hot water is gone, or a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Precise.
Precise Plumbing and Electrical. Call 1300 700 200. That's 1300 700 200. Precise Plumbing and Electrical. We're helping life flow.
Or a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Call Precise.
At Anderson's Solicitors, putting people first is second nature. No matter who you are or what your problem is, we are committed to helping find the right solution for you every time. With locations across the state, whether you need help with family law, commercial law, wills and estates or personal injury claims, talk to Andersons today. Visit andersons.com.au or phone 8238 6666. Anderson's Solicitors. People first in every case.
Speak with One Solution and they'll tell you cybercrime is not a big business problem, a government problem, or a small enterprise problem. It's everyone's problem. Ransomware, malware, and adware remain the #1 threat. One call to One Solution will put your business in a safe place. It's the smartest, most cost-effective business decision you'll ever make. Get in touch with One Solution, winner of the National Telstra Customer Experience Award. onesolution.net.au.
Decor Lighting's big 5-day sale is on now. In-store only. Get 20% off all decorative pendant lighting, table and floor lamps. 5 days only, 24 The Parade, Norwood.
Decorate with Decor Lighting.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
Eleven minutes to 8. It's trial by jury time.
In the criminal justice system, all defendants are innocent until proven guilty, either by confession, plea bargain, or trial by jury. This is one of those trials.
Yeah, from the world of the AFL, we draw our inspiration for the trial by jury this morning. Luce has suggested in the ad break we do a quick summary. I'm going to try and do this as in an unbiased a fashion as possible for people that have woken up and aren't necessarily across what's transpired at the match review panel in the last 2 days. So the first hit was Byron Pickett's on the Bulldogs' Bailey Byron Pickett. It was a bit like Byron Pickett. Cozzy Pickett's hit, his nephew. Cozzy Pickett's hit on Bailey Smith from the Western Bulldogs. It looked like something straight out of the 70s, an old-fashioned shirt front that would have made a best hits of the decade VHS once upon a time. No place in the game now. He got offered 2 games. Bailey Smith got up, played on, no concussion test, and that's significant. Shane McAdam hit Jacob Weir in possession of the football, sized him up in a similar way, albeit from not as far away, didn't leave his feet in the same way that Cozzy Pickett did. Collected him in the head. Jacob Weir went off. He did get a concussion test. The reason that's significant, from the AFL's perspective, having a test kicked it into the realm of being severe, and therefore McAdam went straight to the tribunal, minimum of 3 weeks. Pickett just gets offered 2 weeks. Weir went on back on to play. So despite the outcome of that test being there were no problems, it was still graded as severe. We're asking you on the jury this morning, Pickett or McAdam, who should have received more weeks? Let's go to juror number 1. Good morning, juror number 1.
Yeah, I reckon Pickett for sure. Absolutely.
Thank you, juror number 1. Juror number 2, good morning.
Good morning. Definitely Pickett.
Thank you, juror number 2. Juror number 3, what say you?
McAdam, because Pickett was, if they had taken Pickett to the tribunal, he would have got off, so they offered him 2 because he didn't hit him in the head.
Okay, thank you, juror number 3. Juror number 4, good morning.
Good morning. Pickett for sure. That just looks terrible, jumping into somebody and hitting him in the jaw.
Yeah, it was sort of the quintessential old-fashioned shirt front that's no longer part of the game.
100%.
Juror number 5, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, boys. Hey, I thought I'd get a free coffee mug. That's why I rang in, but definitely Pickett.
You know what? You can get a free coffee mug. We'll give
Ask and you shall receive.
Our jurors all get free coffee mugs. Good on you, juror number 5. I won't identify you. I think we've got a verdict.
Well, it's 4-1 Pickett. Although I'm a bit worried about juror number 3. He sounds like the kind of guy who'd sort of, with that line of argument, keep everyone up there till, midnight on a Friday.
The jury is a great example of how hard it is to get a unanimous verdict on anything, isn't it? It's a good experiment we do every Tuesday morning. It's really hard to get.
Well, part of it's human nature. Part of it is the desire to be an outlier, which is sort of a good human instinct, because if everybody agreed on everything, would be stuffed. But equally, though, there are times where it's less evidentiary and more just, no, I'm just going to say what I think.
A few people have made the observation too. Dave Lloyd, I think, put out a tweet, our Alberton correspondent, a little bit earlier that I thought was a pretty good assessment of all that's transpired. Because some people on the Dutton's text line have made this point too about Buddy Franklin. Dave Lloyd poses the question, why is everyone so confused? Franklin bumps a player, is concussed 1 week. Pickett bumps a player, isn't concussed, but could have been 2 weeks. McAdam bumps a player, is assessed, isn't concussed, but could have been 3 weeks. So if outcome trumps all, and this is me, not Dave Lloyd, why did Buddy get 1? Like there's no part of this that makes any sense whatsoever.
I don't know why they can't see that. But how many times, though, there have been instances where big-name players get mollycoddled and the lesser lights from the... I mean, what about some of the kid glove treatment that Trent Cotchin's got over the years?
Well,
I mean, what about him during the practice games?
Maybe it's just a coincidence, but if you were to rate them in order of fame, it actually correlates with the order of the less severe sentence. Buddy got the least, Cozzy Pickett got the second least, McAdam got the most.
Well, all will be revealed tonight.
Just a coincidence, I'm sure.
Yeah, a lot of coincidences in this one.
All right, let's hand it over to Wallace Fogg. Thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing, and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast 13 13 64.
Now, the latest news with Wallace Fogg. Good morning, early risers. This is Wallace Fogg with another 5AA news update. Rod Stewart fans are rejoicing this morning as the news that Rod will be performing his show tonight at the Entertainment Centre after all. There were concerns that he might cancel his show as he did on Saturday in Victoria. He was scheduled to perform at Geelong's A Day on the Green but had to cancel due to health issues. Rod will be in good voice, particularly because he said he doesn't do cocaine anymore because the cocaine you get now is rubbish compared to how good it was in the 70s.
Rod's longtime assistant manager Maggie Unsworth said she got a call from Rod saying he was feeling much better. Apparently he rang her at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, "Wake up, Maggie, I think I've got something to say to you." We're not sure what exactly the health issue was that prevented Rod from performing on Saturday, but some suspect it might have been an attack of acute old age. In other news, mobile phone detection cameras have been installed for the first time in South Australia. The cameras have been installed on South Road at Torrensville, and nearly 1 in 3 drivers have been snapped using their phone while driving since the cameras started operating. One driver was even caught using a phone and a laptop at the same time. Luckily, though, the law doesn't apply to laptops, just mobile phones. Legally, you can drive while using a laptop to Google for a good guacamole recipe with a cigarette in your mouth and a can of beer between your legs while you do your lipstick with the other hand, as long as you're not driving erratically or without due care. But if you so much as touch your phone, you're nicked, me old darling. Police have asked that people do please ignore the latest TikTok challenge, which is looking for anyone who can take a selfie while driving of themselves and the new cameras in the same shot. And finally, we have a new chairman of the board of the South Australian Film Corporation. Mike Rann has been elected as chairman. He was Premier of South Australia from 2002 to 2011, and among Mr Rann's initiatives were founding of the Adelaide Film Festival and the Film Festival Investment Fund, and the establishment of the SA Film Corporation's Adelaide Studios production facilities at Glenside, which he opened the day before he was unceremoniously shafted by Jay Weatherill. Mr Rann said, "I am looking forward to taking over as chairman of the board, and if anyone is thinking of smacking me around the head and ears with a rolled-up magazine, please make sure it's the latest edition of the SA Film Corp newsletter." And that's the news for this Tuesday. I'm Wallace Fogg. More 5AA news coming up at 8 o'clock, or as close as we can get.
More from John Blake coming up after 8:30 when we go behind closed doors. Lots of Dutton's text coming through at the moment.
There's one here. I'm glad Tyson has mentioned this on the Dutton's text line because it reminded me of something I saw yesterday. And Blakey, in turn, with his Wallace Fogg there, talking about the speed camera detection. The mobile phone detection cameras on South Road. Tyson says, "Morning, boys. Don't worry about mobile phones. I just followed a woman down Crossroads doing her hair with no hands on the wheel from South Road down to Marion Road. Absolutely crazy. Swerving in a lane, doing 50 kilometres an hour. Wish I was a cop." Now, yesterday, I went down to Aldinga straight after the show and I was coming back, heading through, Goodwood Road, Colonel Light Gardens. And the car in front of me started swerving a bit. And I could see an object. The guy who was driving, I saw he had one hand in there. I thought, what's using his phone? I was wrong. He was using an electric shaver. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So he had the left hand on the wheel.
You're kidding.
He might even be listening. He was driving a white
Shaver
car.
man.
Yeah, he had like a goatee-looking beard, and he was just sort of doing the edges. What is going on? Who is in that bigger hurry?
You know what the easiest
cares
job?
that much about their appearance?
The easiest job in TV news is the camo that gets sent out to find people on their phones behind the wheel of a car. It is the easiest thing to
from
spot.
Channel 7 headquarters, they'd walk down to Enzo's, they'd set up their camera, they'd be back in 10 minutes.
It takes them 10 minutes, and they've got all the footage they need. It's endemic.
Me has this report.
2 minutes to 8. Breaking at 8 next.
Some builders think a sloping block has limitations. When Beechwood Homes look at a sloping block, they think, the possibilities. Beechwood Homes know how to make the most of a sloping block. In fact, they specialise in them. Beechwood will design a home that works with the land you have, taking full advantage of every square metre. So if you're looking at a sloping block, go for it. Beechwood has your back. Life's good. It's even better in a Beechwood home. Google Beechwood Adelaide.
Get in here. It's Sheeds. We don't have the time to mess around. We can't afford any more downtime, and we need a result. It's about trust, and for hydraulic hose repairs, Ryco 24/7 are the ones. They'll get to you wherever you are. Their vans are on the road with fully qualified repairers, and they are supported by that other great South Australian team, BL Shipway, who I've known for over 30 years. Call Ryco 24/7 on 133247 or visit ryco247.com.au.
Now, with summer coming to a close, it's the perfect time to prepare your home for the cooler months ahead. Updating your window furnishings is one of the best ways to create a naturally warm home over winter.
It's true to say that so much of your home's warmth is lost through your windows, which is why Rundle Blinds and Curtains have some stunning solutions to keep the heat in and save on your energy bills. Luxaflex Duet shades are a great example. They are the original and the best honeycomb blinds that trap heat in their cells and they insulate your home. They come in an array of fabrics, colours and delivery mechanisms. They can also be custom fit to shape any window.
So what's not to love? Rundle Blinds and Curtains are Adelaide's premier window furnishings company. Visit their excellent showroom in Kings Park or give them a call on 8274 1210.
Don't miss the Ranella Mazda Mad Munch 4-day sale event. Score incredible deals, free CTP, free rego, plus your choice of one of 3 huge bonuses. This 4-day sale event must end this Saturday, only at Ranella Mazda. LVD 152780.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible morning shower, a high of 28. With the 8 o'clock news, I'm Kendall Bratty.
Physio Extra for Locomat robotic technology treating stroke, cerebral palsy, brain and spinal cord injuries. Visit physioextra.com.
Chinese President Xi Jinping's in Moscow for his first visit since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine last year. He will meet with Vladimir Putin for several days. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbing says the end of the conflict in Ukraine is a priority.
It is China's consistent belief that dialogue and negotiation is the fundamental way to solve the Ukraine crisis, and that the international community should play a constructive part in the peaceful settlement of the crisis and do more things that are conducive to promoting peace talks.
Senior Labor MP Bill Shorten says he's removed the TikTok app off his government-issued phone. A review into social media security is being considered by the Home Affairs Minister. It's expected to recommend the Chinese-owned TikToks deleted from Commonwealth devices. Mr Shorten's told Today he only has the app installed on a personal phone to promote the NDIS.
There's a serious issue. The government's reviewing all the social media platforms. The review's not in yet, so there's no ban in place. As a personal decision, I have taken the app off my particular government-issued phone.
A man and woman in their 50s will front court today in relation to the death of Jeffrey McLean. The Andrews farm resident's remains were found in a wheelie bin last year. The pair was arrested yesterday and charged with assisting an offender. Major crime detectives also searched a home at Brahma Lodge. 2 others were previously charged with Mr McLean's murder. 2 men tried to break into a house at Modbury overnight by using a drill to try to remove the door. The occupant of the home in Berryman Drive disturbed the intruders, who rode off on bikes. Men are overrepresented when it comes to suffering fatal injuries related to alcohol consumption. According to the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, 78% of deaths linked to alcohol-related injuries during the 2019 to 20 reporting period were males. Dr Heather Swanston says the 30,000 hospitalisations during that time also were 2/3 men.
In terms of hospitalisations for alcohol-related injury, falls accounted for 43% of injuries in males, followed, as I said, by intentional self-harm, assault and then transport accidents.
Australian actor and former Victorian MP Terry Norris has died at the age of 92. He was best known for his roles in Bellbird and Cop Shop from the late 60s through to the 80s. Entertainment reporter Craig Bennett says his presence was unmatched.
Fabulous knockabout bloke. Bellbird back in the day was absolutely one of the biggest drama series around.
Rod Stewart has said his current tour of Australia will be his last, and tonight he's in Adelaide. Mel Usher has details.
There was a question mark over whether Rod Stewart's concert at the Entertainment Centre tonight would go ahead. He pulled the pin on a performance in Victoria over the weekend due to strep throat, but he's reassured fans via social media that he will be taking to the stage in Adelaide tonight. Limited tickets available.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
4 early bird winners will score $250,000 in the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery. Deadline midnight Friday.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Adelaide forward Shane McAdam will learn his fate for a high bump at the AFL Tribunal tonight. McAdam faces a ban of at least 3 matches for the hit, which has been assessed as careless, severe impact and high contact. Speaking on AFL 360, Port Adelaide coach Ken Hinkley says these types of suspensions in the game are necessary.
We have too much more information about what the injuries can cause and the collisions that happen. There's previous times where people reflect on, that wouldn't have been, but they're previous times. That's exactly what they are. They're times that we shouldn't deal with, and we have a duty of care, and everyone knows that. There's not a player that takes the field who doesn't know that.
And there are now growing calls for the AFL to bring in a sin bin following the weekend's actions from several players. Well, Australia's cricketers will train in Chennai today ahead of tomorrow's series-deciding one-dayer against India. The 3-match series is all square at 1 game apiece. Meantime, New Zealand has won its Test series against Sri Lanka 2-0. That's after taking out the second Test in Wellington by an innings and 58 runs. Briefly elsewhere, USA Swimming is offering a $1 million bonus to beat Australians at the 2024 Paris Olympics. And 6 games again in the NBA today, with Steph Curry's Golden State Warriors desperate to arrest a form slide, which sees them struggling in 7th spot in the Western Conference standings. They'll take on the lowly Houston Rockets a little later this morning. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now to the traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
At Renown Park, got residual delays from nearly a smash. That's on the north-south motorway near Torrens Road. Getting quite busy, South Road at Mile End, also Brighton Road at Glenelg, pretty sluggish. Got works at Elizabeth North, Main North Road near Wommer Road, speeds at 60, with cameras this morning, Hancock Road, Surrey Downs, and Hamilton Road at Fairview Park. Enjoy the Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 SUV with savings from $3,900, but only while limited stocks last. Visit a Mercedes-Benz retailer today. T&Cs apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
A possible morning shower and 28, sunny tomorrow, also 28, mostly sunny Thursday 24 and 25 for Friday. Right now 20. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
7 minutes after 8, Breaking 8 is coming up in just a moment. We'll take you through some of the developing stories of the morning. A couple out of the US, in fact, big international stories, and something that it's impossible not to think is a response to the Xi Jinping meeting with Vladimir Putin in Russia out of the White House. We'll get you details of that in just a moment. Lucy's film review of the Sting coming up in about 15 minutes' time. You voted for her to watch The Sting. She did. What did she make of it? You'll find out very, very shortly.
We don't know either. We've had no prior chats.
She doesn't give hints or teasers to us about.
She's a vault. In our planning meetings this morning, no discussion of it.
Stone-faced.
She's just sitting out there now, just staring off in the distance like, no one can break me.
All right, speaking of breaking, it's time for Breaking 8.
Well, here's some good news, because this thing's gone on longer than Blue Hills. Our understanding is that within the next couple of weeks there is going to be a major and positive announcement about the push to create a Crows headquarters in Thebarton. This is an issue that has obviously been going on for some time, and there have been some concerns expressed by locals who have become quite well organised and vociferous in their complaints, and they've got every right to do that because they live in the area. Well, our understanding is that there is a new proposal from the Adelaide Football Club where they've basically gone back to the drawing board and tried to address a lot of the concerns that residents have raised. This new proposal is set to be given to the state government this week or next week. Now, our understanding is that the Crows have taken into account a lot of the concerns of the residents, and that the government is largely aware of what the club has now come up with. I've been told that this new compromise position will or should alleviate the concerns of locals, and that with some conditions, the state government is going to support the remodelled Crows blueprint for the area. Now, we don't have the details yet.
So it could be a breakthrough.
To what it is, but it sounds like there is going to be a breakthrough, and that...
I hope it's a breakthrough and not a capitulation to 80 people.
Well, as I said, we don't know exactly what they've changed, but I think that they've sat down and said, all right, what's their beef? What are the things that we can adjust? What are the things that we can remodel? I mean, they're not going to set up a new headquarters that doesn't achieve what it's set out to achieve. It would presumably go to issues around amount of green space, access to green space, all that sort of stuff. But our understanding is that it's very much framed around systematically knocking off all of the complaints that have been made about it so far, and that the state government is likely to be supportive of it. So watch this space. Within the next fortnight, we understand, there's going to be some belated but welcome positive movement there.
About 65,000 people live in that council area.
Come on, where we go?
About 65,000. At 80 are upset. How much time have we spent talking about this? Seriously.
That's the way of the world, though.
Yeah, but I don't have to like it.
No, I'm not saying you do. You don't need to convince me.
I get it rationally. These sorts of stories now, I'm starting to... They're like a scratch in the roof of your mouth, and I'm getting...
Well, there's one in every suburb, isn't there?
There is. There is. I'm a party to a couple at the moment, and I just think...
What, in your local area?
No, just in Adelaide. And just...
I thought you were going to strap yourself to something in Grange processing about 5G.
Oh, no, I just feel like bloody knocking something over in Grange just to be...
You're going to kick out of the suburb.
No, it's not a Grange story. It's an Adelaide story, and gee, it's frustrating. It's just infuriating.
Sounds like we have to tease that one out.
Yeah. That's,
save it for breaking at 8 tomorrow night. Get it off your chest.
No, it's just every time I open the paper, there's some 6 people upset about something, and the rest of the state, gets held to ransom. 12 minutes after 8. Let's look at some of the news that's knocking around this morning. A lot of it out of the United States. Politico reporting in just the last 20 minutes that the US president has signed into law a bill to declassify intelligence on the origins of COVID-19, offering the public a chance to review information that government agencies say is inconclusive. Our man in London, Vincent McAviney, made the observation online that it's impossible to think this wasn't a response to President Xi Jinping turning up in Russia to have a bit of a powwow with Vladimir Putin, both these things occurring on the same day. The piece of legislation is called the COVID-19 Origin Act of 2023. That passed with unanimous support earlier this month. So they had 90 days, essentially, to declassify all of the information they're aware of. So we are going to learn all of it. Some of the investigation of the origin of COVID. As we know, US departments are split on this. There are some that believe it in the Wuhan lab theory.
The FBI being one of them.
FBI being one. The organisation that does all the science grants too recently came out and said they're convinced. But there are others that aren't. There are others that say, well, it's more likely it just sort of naturally evolved out there. But it's a big step. And it's going to be really fascinating. Of course, calling for a proper investigation was the thing that led to almost the final straw in the fracturing of relationships between Australia and the US, and China. Speaking of the US, though, the entire country at the moment is gripped by Trump Watch, Trump Arrest Watch. Here's Paula Reid, the CNN senior legal affairs expert, speaking to Today a short time ago.
We don't know at this point if the former president will be indicted. What we know today, though, is the Trump team has requested a witness go before the grand jury. And this witness, his name is Robert Costello. He's well known in the Trump orbit. He has represented Trump allies like Rudy Giuliani, Steve Bannon, and once upon a time, he also represented Michael Cohen. And he was requested to go before the grand jury to undermine Cohen's credibility. Michael Cohen, the former personal attorney and fixer for President Trump, is a central witness in this case. Now, we also don't know if this is the last time the grand jury will be hearing from witnesses or when they could vote on a possible indictment.
We reported last night on 7. It's to the point where the effectively the police are negotiating with Trump's security team to say, well, look, hang on, if it gets to this, what does it look like?
Well, it looks like the Capitol riots, potentially, or even worse. And this is where Trump is just the most utterly irresponsible lunatic ever to have risen to the ranks of president. The idea that in a country that's got people are tripping over their firearms at home, that he would be out there on social media telling everyone to get out there and get active, it's just so utterly reckless. But having said that, this idiot Democrat bloke in New York, with the backing of George Soros, like, how tactically stupid are the Democrats who are pushing this? If they think that this is going to make Trump go away, it's going to embolden Trump, it's going to martyr Trump, and it's probably going to resuscitate his political career.
If there's one image of him in handcuffs that gets out publicly, he will be the next president of the United States.
How stupid are they that they can't see that? Like, it just makes you despair for that country. And it just shows how utterly polarised it's become. On the one hand, you got the former leader of the free world, who pretty much has already organised one riot where people died with his tweets, doing the same thing again. Yet the Dems, the group of Dems that are behind this,
they want to martyr him.
Wanting to martyr him. It's just a stuffed country politically.
Nick in McGill has called into the program. Morning to you, Nick.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, Dave. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I just want to say thank you, heartfelt thank you to the crews that come and worked on yesterday after we had that horrible storm. Near where I live, just around the corner, I'm only a couple of houses away, there's a massive tree fell down and dropped, snapped 3 or 4 lines. So we had no power from about 4 in the morning. And they were talking that maybe we might not even get it back until early this morning or around about now. But they worked really, really hard, non-stop, very methodically. And by 10:45 last night, we all had power back. So, great kudos to them. And I think they deserve to be thanked by the people.
Good on you, Nick. Hey, Nick, question without notice. You big still growing the veggies?
Not as much as I used to, Dave. Unfortunately, I've snapped a couple of tendons in my right shoulder, and they've detached themselves from about 4.6 centimetres.
Oh.
So I'm restricted somewhat. I still grow. Yeah, I've still got some chilies, and I've got some tomatoes and that, although I'm fighting with a bloody possum. He's eating the skin of the bloody thing.
The reason I was asking, everyone I know who's grown vegetables, we might have a bit of a look at this tomorrow. I've had tomatoes that started to grow this summer, and I go out the next day and they're gone. I reckon it's possums and it's rats.
It could be those, but even the weather hasn't been kind, David. And I mean, I've got a lot of trees in my back garden now because I think I've mentioned it to you guys a couple of times. I've actually I've got this massive maple tree, which is about 15 metres with a 10-metre canopy, and it's in the wrong spot, actually. It sort of takes the sun away during the day. But I've also got 7 citrus fruits, and I've got an olive tree, 2 fig trees, and so on. So that whole area there now has become like a little park. I've got a table underneath there. You would have seen my sign. And I've actually made a little couch with limestone that comes from Mount Gambier. They're not even as big, but it looks really rustic. And so what I do, I sit out there with my wife occasionally. We have a bite to eat, and then we toss up. He's going to come and make the coffee, and we're going to walk to the piazza and drink it in the piazza.
Sounds magnificent, Nick. Good on you, mate. Thank you for calling in. 8223 is the number. We might do Fuel Watch. Thanks to the free My RAA app that you can use. You can download for free right now, as I say, and you'll find the cheapest fuel in an instant. But some context first on the oil barrel price that we became obviously very obsessed with around the time that it got to around $120 a barrel. Just looking at West Texas crude as the benchmark here, was around the time that we started getting a relaxation to the fuel excise, halving of the fuel excise, to artificially keep prices lower here. Right now, it is the opposite story largely to where we were a year ago. On this day, March 21 last year, West Texas crude, you can use Brent crude or any of these, and it's a similar drop-off, similar story, was at about $109.97, so nearly $110 a barrel. Today, it's at $67.64. Now, what does that mean? It's nearly a halving of the price of oil, the oil barrel price. We should be seeing seriously cheap petrol really soon in South Australia. I'm not convinced it's really coming through in the way you'd think, proportionally to this point in time.
I saw it for $1.60 the other day.
$1.60 we should be seeing a lot more of. Here are the cheap spots in Adelaide. just to keep in mind, remembering what I've just told you about what's transpired over the last 12 months. United Port Road Queenstown's $1.69.5. The BP Goodwood Road Clarence Park $1.63.9 was about as cheap as we found it anywhere. The Liberty Portrush Road Glenunga is $1.69.9, and the cheapest diesel's the ex-convenience Edmund Avenue only $1.82.5. It seems a bit like interest rates.
Yeah, the lag time.
There's a real serious lag time when it comes to dropping things back that doesn't exist when it comes to putting them up, and the international pressures being the same. So we'll keep an eye on that. 20 minutes after 8, time to check traffic. We're talking about the Sting when we return with Lucy.
Busy in a few spots already this morning. South Road at Mile End, also Greenhill Road at Anzac Highway. Got work slowing things up at Elizabeth North, Main North Road near Wobber Road. Speeds at 60, and 2 lanes out of action this morning at Bedford Park. That's all those ongoing works on the Southern Expressway. It's as you're heading into the city with speeds reduced. A few cameras about, including Everard Avenue, Keswick, and Golden Grove Road at Golden Grove. Order your barista-made iced lattes on the OTR app. It's quick, convenient, and every fifth C coffee is free. Open 24/7. OTR. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Rowie and Timmy G on the 5AA Sports Show.
Some breaking news. Shane McAdam.
Oh, we got the result?
He's been sent straight to the tribunal.
What the?
In front of the panel. So that means he's going to face a ban, Timmy, of 3 matches or more. So Pickett gets offered what? 2.
Took it.
And left the ground and bumped, right?
Looked far worse.
How is one worth 3 or more and one is worth 2? I don't get that.
I couldn't see much difference between Pickett's and McAdam's.
4 p.m. weekdays on 5AA.
Every day, Bupa helps prepare millions of Australians for life's ups and downs. Which is why we're delaying premium increases for Bupa members until the 1st of October 2023. Search Bupa to find out more.
Hey, Dad. The posties are back.
Oh, yeah? How many this time?
1, 2, 3. About 8. They're staring at our driveway. Should I let the dog out?
Nah, let them look a little longer.
Now they're taking selfies with it.
Adelaide Exposed Concrete. Best on ground all year round.
Are you deciding between wearing glasses or putting in contacts every day? Why not ditch both and trust Laser Vision SA with SA's longest experience in all laser, LASIK and smile procedures. Dr. Frankel has performed more smile procedures than any other surgeon in Australia. See your options clearly with Laser Vision SA. Whether you are near or far-sighted or have astigmatism, contact Laser Vision SA today and live your best life without the hassle of glasses or contacts.
Speak with One Solution and they'll tell you cybercrime is not a big business problem, a government problem, or a small enterprise problem. It's everyone's problem. Ransomware, malware, and adware remain the #1 threat. One call to One Solution will put your business in a safe place. It's the smartest, most cost-effective business decision you'll ever make. Get in touch with One Solution, winner of the National Telstra Customer Experience Award. onesolution.net.au.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
23 minutes after 8. We're off to Paris after 8:30 for the latest on the protests that have just ground France to a halt. Now, the government narrowly survived a no-confidence motion overnight. We'll talk about the fallout of that. There's a second one they have to get through. The first, though, was the one that had the backing of the majority of the parties on the left. So the expectation was if they got through that, they'll survive. That said, you can survive politically, and then who knows what will play out in the street. So we're crossing there after 8:30 today. If you'd like to text into the program, you can certainly do that on the Duttons text line. Thanks to Duttons, 3 dealerships and 10 franchises in the Adelaide Hills and Murray Bridge. They're there as well. Duttons, easy to do business with. Lucy's in the studio, and that means we've got a movie review. Yesterday, the Movie Bowl was in the studio, and you nominated this film. From 1973, it was The Sting. Lucy, good morning.
Good morning. Bit of the entertainer there. Perfectly describes The Sting, I thought. Entertaining. 3 words just to set the scene for those who aren't aware what it's about. The Big Con. It's all about a big con, and I enjoyed it. The 1973 mobster film set in the Great Depression wasn't a comedy, but it was pretty witty and genuinely entertaining. At times, I didn't quite follow it specifically, as in I got a little bit confused, but overall, the convoluted robbery was a hit. There were no additional unnecessary storylines of romance or great tragedy, just a straight-out con artist, cunning plot, and it delivered, giving it 3 stars today.
That's very generous, Lois.
Yeah,
3
well,
stars.
it was better than Groundhog Day.
How did you find Robert Redford and Paul Newman? They got a nice sort of chemistry between them, haven't they?
Yeah, they were excellent. I think the funniest thing that it clicked about halfway through, not about the actors, but the set. You could see it was set on a set, clearly. You know, they hadn't gone out on location and built fake buildings, that kind of thing. But I thought that added to it. It was 1973, of course, and they were setting the film in 1936. So back then,
two of the most
they probably
dashing...
couldn't make up a 1936 set. But I thought Robert Redford, Paul Newman were excellent.
2 of the most dashing male leads in history as well. Of a former generation would swoon.
Robert Redford,
about them.
My mother's favourite of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't quite swoon. Again, the generational difference, but I can imagine Eve Goodings being a big fan.
Oh, Robert. I heard a lot about Robert Redford. A lot of...
Good-looking bloke.
He could have been your father. No, that's not.
Hey, has your mum seen The Sting?
No doubt she has. No doubt.
Eve,
probably seen all of
Eve, if you agree with me or
She
disagree
loves
with
him.
me, please let me know. I also, as usual, I welcome all debate. Let me know what you thought of The Sting. The scene I have picked was probably one of the more comical ones. The group, they've eventually got together their own group to take on the big mobster. They had to pick a location for the scene of the big con, which is like a fake TAB horse racing bookie venue. Here we go.
How's it look, Eddie?
Well, looks all right, kid. It's big enough and it's off the street.
I don't know. It's kind of short notice. I'm not sure we can get it all done by Saturday.
Got to. Rondo's riding them out down from New York in the Century.
We'll take it. That building at the end of the alley, do you manage that?
For 15 years.
Well, I'll need a corner room facing this way. How much a week?
Only rents by the month. $250 for the 2 of them.
Most stuff store on the north side.
Last time I expect to see you down here.
Never heard of the place.
So he's just said to the building manager, I need this room, even though you've been here for 15 years, need you to never come back. And he takes the money and says, yep, never heard of this place, and walks out. 3 stars for The Sting.
Are you enjoying this cinematic journey, Lise?
I am. And now that I've got over the moving house, buying puppy busyness stage, I actually had time to watch it and enjoy it yesterday. It was good. Very enjoyable.
Once you start going down the cinematic wormhole, it can become quite... Because one movie sort of leads to another.
I'm not at that stage yet. It may happen. I know Tyson wants me to give a review of Goodfellas. Tyson, it'll happen after July.
We've got to do that. We've got to get the
Yep,
Goodfellas.
after
We'll get
July.
the
Well, we're doing the repercharge system of all the films that I didn't get to watch in the first 6 months. They'll all be played off against each other in the next 6 months.
The 1973 is a box office. It's tells you how much the world's changed in 50 years. So the biggest film 1973 was The Exorcist. Then you have The Sting, American Graffiti, the films that played off today. We couldn't do The Exorcist because there's no way Lucy's watching a horror. But the point that stood out to me, the film that came in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th was the Bond film Live and Let Die. Live and Let Die, the 8th Bond movie. If you bring out the 8th number of any franchise in a movie these days, that will be the biggest grossing film of the year. You look at the box office in the last couple of years, it's always
Marvel films.
It's a Marvel universe. It's the third. It's the new Avatar. It's always a rehash, but that was an era, and much of the next 50 years would be until today, was eras where it was all original content that people went to see, and now it's just it's nostalgia.
It feels like studios don't want to take a chance on something because it's
completely
demonstrably good. The only thing that matters is the bottom line.
Yeah, is it a guaranteed return on investment? 29 after 8. We're off to France next.
It's a frightening thought. But what if you lost the capacity to manage your financial affairs? If you're not at the helm, who makes medical or health decisions? Who controls the family trust? From the simplest to the most complex wills and estate plans, Donlan Lawyers will answer your questions and help carry out your wishes. For wills and estate planning, visit donlanlawyers.com. That's donlanlawyers.com. Hindmarsh Square, Adelaide, and Ocean Street, Victor Harbour.
If you need to fix your pipes, call Precise. Call Precise. If your toilet's blocking up, call Precise. Call Precise. If your lights aren't turning on, or your hot water is gone, or a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Precise.
Precise Plumbing and Electrical. Call 1300 700 200. That's 1300 700 200. Precise Plumbing and Electrical. Local and experienced trade specialists.
For a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Precise.
G'day, it's Eddie May here from NRG Solar. People buy a solar system to save money and do the right thing by the environment. So why would you buy a battery? Well, people buy a battery because they want independence from the grid. They don't want to be inconvenienced in the event of a blackout, and of course, protect themselves from future power rises. Now, electricity is going up, so whatever your needs are regarding solar and battery storage, you can rely on NRG Solar for the right solution. Visit nrgsolar.com.au.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A possible morning shower, a high of 28. With the 8:30 news, I'm Kendall Brettig.
Try Locomat robotic gait training technology for neurological issues at Physio Extra. Visit physioextra.com.
China's president has met with his Russian counterpart in Moscow on day one of a 3-day state visit. Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin have held a 4.5-hour meeting. Mr. Putin's promised to discuss China's plan for peace in Ukraine in the coming days. The Greens are accusing the federal government of giving the middle finger to the UN over climate change. A new UN report is forecasting widespread heat waves, drought and floods unless the world takes urgent action to limit carbon emissions. Labor plans to force the nation's largest polluters to slowly reduce their carbon footprint. But Greens leader Adam Bandt says they must go much further and ban new fossil fuel projects.
Labor is giving the United Nations the middle finger by pressing on with opening coal and gas mines, despite the very clear warning that this will lead to climate collapse.
And Australia is expected to miss its plastic recycling target to recycle 70% of plastic waste by 2025. Confidential documents from the packaging industry reveal we only recycled 16% of plastics in 2021. Police are investigating an attempted break-in at Modbury early this morning. Senior Constable Matt Brown says 2 men tried to break into a house in Berryman Drive by using a drill to try and remove the door.
The male occupant disturbed the intruders, who fled the scene on bicycles. One of the men was wearing a checkered shirt and had a headlamp on his bike helmet, while the other man was wearing a black T-shirt with white writing. So anyone who may have witnessed suspicious activity in the area is asked to call Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
A man was airlifted to hospital after a crash at Murray Bridge North last night. He was a passenger in a station wagon which collided with a truck on Mannum Road around 9 p.m. The truck was carrying 2 tractors and a baler. The woman driving the car and the truck driver suffered only minor injuries. Police are investigating. The risk of brain injury and disability in premature babies could be greatly reduced through the use of stem cells. Donna Siramana reports.
Up to 40% of extremely premature babies face a risk of long-term developmental and behavioural issues such as autism and ADHD. A landmark study from Monash University is hoping to change that. The clinical trials harvested blood from 38 infants born 28 weeks premature before having their stem cells re-injected. One baby who had stem cells taken from his cord blood was Kate Hoogan, who was born weighing 632 grams. He was able to be discharged from hospital weighing just over 3 kilos.
Australian actor and former Victorian Labor MP Terry Norris has died at the age of 92. He was best known for his roles in the TV shows Bellbird and Cop Shop. He also starred in dozens of films during his career. And billionaire media mogul Rupert Murdoch is set to marry for the 5th time. The 92-year-old is engaged to his new girlfriend of 6 months, Anne Leslie Smith. She's a 66-year-old former police chaplain and the widow of late country music star Chester Smith. The pair are planning to tie the knot in a matter of months. Now Now turning to 5AA Sport.
4 early bird winners will score $250,000 in the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery. Deadline midnight Friday.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Adelaide midfielder Ben Key says the players can't dwell too much on the disappointment of Sunday's round 1 loss against GWS. The Crows looked on track for the win but were overrun in the second half. Key's telling Treaders and Timmy G they need to move on to the Tigers this Saturday.
It would have been nice to have an away win to start the season, but on trying conditions, credit to GWS and what they're building as well. So, yeah, we don't want the guys to get too down. We need to move forward, and we really look forward to the battle with Richmond.
And the Crows are almost certain to be without Shane McAdam for that match. He'll face the Tribunal tonight for a bump on Giants defender Jacob Weir. Well, meantime, AFL great Matthew Lloyd doubts Jack Ginnivan will slot straight back into the Collingwood lineup when his drug ban ends.
I think he was in trouble anyway, so even if he didn't get the suspension, I don't think he was playing round 1. Those that you speak to at Collingwood say that Hill had gone past him, and McCreery applies pressure like no one else in that.
He didn't have a great pre-season.
No, I think they were so impressed with Bobby Hill that he wasn't going to play anyway.
Lloyd on Footy Classified there. Ginnivan is serving a 2-game suspension for taking illicit drugs and will be eligible for selection in round 3. To the NBA, Josh Giddey's impressive forms continued as he put on 16 points, 6 rebounds and 6 assists to help his Oklahoma City Thunder record a 124-120 point win against the highly fancied Phoenix Suns to further strengthen the Thunder's playoff claims. And football stars Marcus Rashford, Mason Mount and Nick Pope have all withdrawn from England's upcoming Euro qualifiers because of injury. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
No great dramas for the drive-in this morning. Busy in a few spots already, including North-South Motorway at Hyde Marsh, South Road at Mile End, also Greenhill Road at Anzac Highway quite slow. Got works at Elizabeth North, Main North Road near Womma Road, speeds at 60 with cameras today, Everard Avenue, Keswick and Coolwood Road at Millswood. Does your home need a refresh? Right now at Freedom, get up to 25% off selected sofas, living, dining and bedroom furniture. Sale on now only at Freedom. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Stay cool. Service your aircon at Automasters. And keep cool with Cool Now, Pay Later options.
A possible morning shower heading for 28. Sunny tomorrow, also 28. Thursday, mostly sunny, 24 and 25 for Friday. Right now, 20. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Could your tired and outdated old bathroom do with a transformation, but you don't have the time or money for a complete redo? Bathroom Works' quick makeover process is an affordable, hassle-free way to transform your bathroom to new without retiling or replumbing. And no mess. The transformation is done in days, not weeks, and guaranteed for 7 years. Call us now on 1-800-644-171 for your free information kit, or get one from our website at bathroomwerx.com.
Don't miss the Southgate GWM Mad March 4-day sale event. Score incredible deals, free rego, free CTP, plus your choice of 3 huge bonuses. This 4-day sale event must end this Saturday, only at Southgate GWM. LVD 152780.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
Twenty-two minutes to 9. We spoke a little bit earlier in the program about, and we have, of course, over the last week or so, spoken about the protests in France with the retirement age lifting to a level, as we've repeatedly pointed out, would make it 1 year lower than the initial ever retirement age here in Australia. But it has had all unions combine forces to grind life to a halt in France. Incredible protests in the street. Significant part of this whole thing played out overnight, where the French government survived a vote of no confidence. There's 2 votes of no confidence. This was the one that was expected had the greatest hope of getting up. If it was to have failed, Emmanuel Macron would have had to name a new government, or there would have had to be elections. So it's a significant moment. What that means for how things are playing out in the streets of Paris and other places in France, well, for that we go to Lauren Tomasi, who's been covering the story and has been walking the streets amid these protests for 9 News in Paris. Lauren, good morning to you.
Good morning to you guys, and it's certainly chaotic here at the moment.
So give us a sense of what it's actually like on the streets of Paris, Lauren, because pretty much every area of life has been affected in terms of services, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely right. I mean, the past 2 weeks you've seen that rubbish just lining the streets. There was more than 10,000 tonnes because sanitation workers had been striking. But in terms of tonight, I was standing outside the Parliament when this decision was handed down in Emmanuel Macron's favour, and there was absolute outroar. The protesters have taken to the streets again, and it is chaotic out there at the moment. There are fires being lit in the street. They're lighting that tons of rubbish on fire, throwing barricades on the roads so the police can't get through. And we've seen night after night since Emmanuel Macron tried to force this through, and it will now become law. These violent clashes between police and protesters. There are just thousands of people out. And, of course, the French are well known to love a protest, but this has got quite out of hand.
Well, they are. I mean, 1789, Paris Commune in 1848, Daniel Cohn-Bendit in 1968. They have got a bit of a history of it. But do you think they've got any sense as to how a country like Australia and so many other countries in the world would look at this one and think, hang on a minute, the retirement age is 62? Like, it's extraordinary.
It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was chatting to people on the street today, and they said, what is it like in Australia? I said, the retirement age is 65, so that's higher than you guys are pushing it above here, but they said, no, it is different for the French. It's different. And they are absolutely adamant. I haven't spoken to a single person who's been in Paris who is for the age being lifted. The vast majority of Parisians and of the French people are so vehemently against this motion being passed. And so when it became law today through virtue of the president's that vote going in his favour, there's just been absolute uproar. And the police have been ready for it on the streets. There has been hundreds and hundreds of them dressed in riot gear. They've seen protests before, and they're comparing these latest protests to 2018. We saw the Yellow Jacket protest, and that got quite violent in Paris. There's certainly a lot of tear gas flying and fires on the street, rubbish burning. It's not a great time for Paris right now.
What's been the hardest thing for just daily life in terms of what the strike action's been an end to? Is it public transport? Is it getting around? Is it having your bins collected? What's been the toughest?
Yeah, so outside of protesters just walking the streets, all the industries have been jumping on board with the unions. So we've seen those remarkable pictures of rubbish just piling up, so much so that they are blocking footpaths and people have to walk on the roads. Outside of that, the trains are delayed. There are many trains that are completely stopping. The airports have cancelled about 20 to 30% of flights out of two of the major airports here in Paris. And today, again, we saw people lighting barricades on fire in major highways just to completely stop the roads. It is coming from all sectors. It seems like all industries in France are jumping on board with this. And while you see that garbage piling up, many people that I've spoken to, it doesn't bother them because they say, this is part of the strikes, this is part of the protest, this is how we will make change with the government.
So the plan that has caused all the trouble is they want to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. Is there any talk that the government might do some sort of compromise and say, all right, we'll just raise it to 63 or something like that?
Oh, the French, they like to protest and they like to stand firm on things. So, look, realistically, no. But, look, there is this chance that Emmanuel Macron steps back on this. But more likely than not, it has gone through now. It is law. It's unlikely, even amidst calls for his government to step down, for his Prime Minister to step down. It looks like he's going to stand firm. I mean, for him to do this in the first place, for a bit of context, protests about the retirement age have been going on for a number of months, but it was last week when he used this very special constitutional power as president, which meant that he didn't have to ask for anyone's vote. He could just push this law through, and when he did that, that really annoyed people all throughout France. That's the big point that people are protesting, and look, he's unlikely to backtrack. He's gone this far already.
Amazing.
Great report, Lauren. Thank you for that. Lauren
Cheers,
Tomasi
Lauren.
for 9 News in Paris. Getting some Dutton's text through. Just for clarification, here in Australia, as of the 1st of July this year, the age pension will be 67 years if you're born on or after the 1st of January 1957. So effectively, from July this year, the retirement age in Australia is 67. So it will be still, even after the changes in France, 3 years later than what they've enjoyed in France.
And 5 years later than what it is now.
And 5 years later than what it is now. What they're arguing should be kept in perpetuity.
1871 Paris Commune.
Maria says on the Duttons text line, I read the French turmoil about raising the pension age. If that was here, I'd be enjoying life as a retiree. I've been working since 15 years of age. I've got 3 years to go till I get to 67.
The other thing is in Australia, a lot of people don't retire at 65. How often do you go and see, like I went to the dentist the other day, the bloke who operated on me, he's in his 70s. He just loves his job.
There's a story this morning that the Advertiser's carrying about how much money you need to retire, suggesting that it's $50,000 more than it was pre this inflation spike
1 year ago.
So it's another 50,000 in your super. So you can do the sums and work out how many more years you've had to work to get to that. We have a Barbecue Adelaide Weber Stores Jeps Cross and Mile End voucher to give away. $100 worth. Goes a long way at the Barbecue Adelaide Weber Stores. A little bit earlier we spoke about the Crazy Horse sign that was sold just a month ago, being up for sale again because the person who bought it wanted to hang it over their pool and found that it turns out it's really big, and to crane it over the pool just wasn't realistic. So we are asking you this morning about purchases you've instantly regretted, things you've bought and you've almost straight away thought, well, that was a mistake. Let us know, and you can win yourself that $100 Barbecue Adelaide Weber Store, Jeps Cross and Mile End. You can use it at any of the stores. Best collection of rubs in the Southern Hemisphere he's got, Barnesy. Let us know. Something you've bought and regretted.
We had some good news at 6:45 this morning when we crossed a Sapole. Nobody died on our roads.
How about that?
Overnight.
It's a novelty, isn't it?
It felt like a novelty after the past fortnight we've had. And again, I must admit, after yesterday's show, Helen, Dave the truckie, and the other woman who texted in but didn't leave a name, the first thing Will and I said to each other after the show yesterday, and when Mum and Dad came around for dinner last night, it was the first thing Mum said too, how amazing that in the course of a radio show, in a pretty small city like Adelaide, you'll get 3 people who texted in talking about the fact that one of their loved ones died in a car accident.
Yeah, it was
great courage and well,
there'll be plenty more that have been affected that wouldn't have texted.
Yeah,
which is fine.
I know. It's extraordinary.
Darcy McGill has called in. Morning to you, Darcy.
Morning. Thanks for taking the call.
Not at all, Darcy.
Always.
Hang on. I'll just get you off of... You got me?
Yep, we got you loud and clear.
Yeah. I brought a whole heap of ShamWow on the info channel. And let me tell you, there's nothing wow about a ShamWow.
It feels like you're doing a community service here, Darcy, whilst also putting yourself in the running to win the $100 voucher.
I'm still in therapy over it.
See, I reckon there's a life lesson there, mate. Why, in hindsight, why would you buy anything off a bloke who's got an accent like Arthur Daly in Minder?
I think it was one too many beers late at night. And...
That's when they get you.
Darcy, that's a tremendous call. Thank you.
Wow.
Darcy's in the running to win that $100 Barbecue Adelaide Weber Stores voucher. You can be too by telling us something you've bought and regretted. The ShamWow's excellent.
Have you ever done any TV shopping?
Never.
I bought a George Foreman grill.
Oh, yeah, was it good?
I never used it.
The fat just runs off?
Why. I was a bit like Darcy.
You've never struck me as the kind of guy that is concerned too much about fat in cooking.
I know. I'm more concerned about the fat running off the food.
Exactly. Well, you shouldn't have ever really bought the George Foreman grill.
We had some Scotch fillet from Good Quality Meats the other day with all the fat left in it. Oh, my
beautiful.
God. You never cut the fat off.
All right, more entries in a moment. We're going to check traffic. We'll have behind closed doors as well.
Thanks, Will. At Marrettville, a car has gone into a building on Kensington Road near Tusmore Avenue. Aldinga smash on South Road at the Port Road roundabout. Busy right now, South Road at Mile End, also Greenhill Road at Anzac Highway. Got a lane out of action at Muddo Para, Main North Road near Curtis Road, speeds at 40, with cameras Everard Avenue, Keswick, and One Tree Hill Road at Golden Grove. Looking for a delicious and nutritious snack? OTR has all your healthy snacking sorted, from fruits and nuts to yogurts and more. What you need, when you need it, at OTR. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
On 5AA mornings, our population growth has risen by 1.4% over the 12 months to last September, but our birth rate has fallen by its largest margin ever. Is it time for one for Dad, one for Mum, and one for South Australia? I'm Matthew Pantelis. Join me from 9.
It's
Hard to believe, but bi-urban bathrooms and kitchens may not be everyone's cup of tea. If you're not fussed by sticky drawers, if you're not driven mad by something that doesn't quite line up, if you don't appreciate millimetre-perfect craftsmanship and service of the highest standard, then maybe bi-urban bathrooms and kitchens is not for you. But if those things are important, buyurban.com.au, Adelaide's home renovation experts.
Oh, glasses or contacts today? I don't want either. Trust Laser Vision SA, with SA's longest experience in all laser LASIK and smile procedures. Dr. Frankel has performed more smile procedures than any other surgeon in Australia. So speak to Laser Vision SA about which option is best for you. Near or far-sighted, or have astigmatism. Contact Laser Vision SA today and live your best life without the hassle of glasses or contacts.
Now, this weekend will be a very special and historic one for South Australia, as we're on the cusp of becoming the first state to have a First Nations voice to Parliament.
This is a nation-leading opportunity for South Australia, according to the state government. It will demonstrate to the rest of the country the importance of giving First Nations people a great say in the laws and policies that affect their lives.
And that's why this won't just be an historic moment for First Nations people, but for all South Australians.
On Sunday, there will be a special parliamentary sitting, and the First Nations voice is set to become law. If you'd like to show your support, you can get along by attending 11 a.m. this Sunday, the 26th of March, on the steps of Parliament House.
Patience pays off, especially if you've been holding out for a great deal on a new Volkswagen. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen is now receiving truckloads of new Volkswagens. Yes, they're coming. And they're available at amazing prices. Remember Mawson Lakes Volkswagen for servicing too, with next day servicing and free loan cars. Get a great deal on Volkswagen now. Don't dilly-dally, dawdle or delay. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, just a short drive from the city.
At Coles this Easter, you'll find excellent value everywhere you look. Like half-price Cadbury Dairy Milk Bunny 80 grams, now just $2.50. That's value the Australian way, only at Coles. Offer ends March 28.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. This is 5AA Breakfast.
8 to 9, we've got a $100 Barbecue Adelaide Weber Stores voucher to give away. Jepps Cross and Mile End. You can get started on your next Weber, or indeed go berserk in the rubs section. Biggest in the Southern Hemisphere. Talking about things you bought and regretted. Karen has called in. Morning, Karen.
Good morning.
What's yours, Karen?
I bought a potato grower online that had a kit with some potatoes in it for, I think it was 3 potatoes and just a bag. It said that it would have carb-free potatoes, etc. It cost me $300, and the same bag at Bunnings was, I think, maybe 12.
I didn't know there was a need. There was a gap in the market for carb-free potatoes. Isn't that sort of the whole point of eating them?
Yeah,
the soothing, warming sensation from getting the carbs in you.
Thank you, Karen. Let's go to Tyson in Clarence Gardens. Morning, Tyson.
Morning, boys. Yeah, I thought it was fashionable, so I bought a pair of Crocs and wore them to the pub.
Oh, yeah.
Did socks or no socks?
Yeah, I went socks.
Oh, no. Have your mates ever let you forget it, Tyson?
Never go full sock.
No, I had to literally walk out and go home and change the shoes.
Thank you, Tyson. Tony's called from Darwin. Morning, Tony.
G'day, guys. Probably the biggest regret is 5 engagement rings over the duration.
Yeah, 5?
Yeah, my mates reckon it's 7, but I think it's more like 5. But, yeah.
if you've lost track, Tony, that tells everything.
To quote Harry Callahan, in the confusion, I kind of lost track myself.
Peter in Croydon, good morning.
Hey, boys, how are you?
Good, thanks, mate.
So many years ago, my dad, who wanted to be trendy, he likes colouring his hair, so he rings me up and tells me to go to the shop and buy hair colour. So I just walk into the shop, buy hair colour. Little do I know that I didn't buy black. He didn't even check it when I got home. I get home, he says to me, can you colour his hair? I said, no, I'm not going to do that for you. Anyway, I ended up colouring his hair. Then I leave, he rings me up later. I accidentally bought the blonde peroxide hair. Little did he know, because he just got in the shower and just and just shampooed it off. I wasn't his favourite son after a while, let me tell you.
Look like Jason Ackermanis.
Good on you. That'd be quite the look. One more, perhaps. David in Redwood Park, good morning.
Yeah, bought an ironing board cover.
An ironing board cover?
Yeah, Christmas Eve. Not bought the wife a present. Went for a walk to the local market back in Chesterfield. My mate were flogging them off. I thought, yeah, boom, brilliant. You could actually hear the boom next morning from the wife when I gave it as a Christmas present. Absolutely, yeah. Put it this way, the turkey wasn't going in the oven that quick that morning.
How romantic, an ironing board cover.
Yeah, I could see instant regret with that one. Who gets the...
Can you imagine doing that in 2023?
Yeah, it wouldn't be... I'd be...
Merry Christmas.
I'd be buying engagement ring number 2 to...
Well, you'd ring Tony, he knows where to get them.
You're exactly right.
5 or 7. Look, I think anyone who shelled out their hard-earned cash on a sham wow deserves some kind of belated recompense. So Darcy's the winner.
Hi, it's Vince with Sham Wow. You'll be saying wow every time you use this towel. It's like a chamois, it's like a towel, it's like a sponge. A regular towel doesn't work.
Turns out it wasn't quite. Let's go behind closed doors thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast on 13 13 64.
And when we get behind closed,
Adelaide's best breakfast program. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
And welcome back to 5AA Breakfast and David Penberthy. Welcome back to you too.
G'day, Will. How you going?
I'm really well, David.
Half-wits.
Nearly 30,000 customers without power this morning. SA Power Network's working on that. Paradise is one of them. They say that will be back on at around 10:30.
See, my mind works differently from you, Will. When you said paradise, I was going to say Will's been to paradise, but he's never been to me.
Oh, right.
I immediately thought of Charlene and that song.
Right, so you weren't particularly worried about the power outages, David?
No, it's just the way I roll.
Coming up in a moment, breaking outage and then Lucy's movie bowl.
See, my mind works differently from you, Will. When you said breaking at 8, I was going to say Will's breaking my stride. I immediately started thinking of Matthew Wilder, and it's 40 years since that song was a hit.
Anyway, SA Power Networks are working on getting everyone's power back on.
Well, they certainly were back on at Adelaide Oval on Saturday.
Lucy's movie bowl is coming up and we will offer Lucy the choice of 2 movies. The category this morning is blockbusters from 1973.
Live at the Hollywood Bowl showed what a great band the Beatles really were.
That's fabulous, David.
In those days, nobody had thought of the idea of having fold-back speakers so they couldn't hear what they were singing, but they were totally in tune.
Really?
Yep. Have you ever tried singing when you can't hear yourself?
No, I haven't.
It's impossible. Let's try that next time we go to last sing in Gouger Street.
I wish I couldn't hear you at the moment, David.
Chorizo.
We'll check in with Sapole in just a moment, find out what's happened overnight.
I often wonder, how the other 2 are getting on.
Which other 2, David?
Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland. They must gag every time they see Sting singing those great songs.
That's a police reference, David.
You betcha.
Take a breath, David. We've got
every breath you take, sure.
Oh.
The Duttons text line 044808 1395. A lot of messages concerning the power outages coming in.
Message in a bottle, you bet.
8223 0000 is our number.
It'll be as funny as hell, won't it, if Lucy has to go home and watch the Sting?
Well, that did happen.
It did happen.
See, Blakey lives his life vicariously through our show. Because he's got a mind like a bird's nest full of poop and twigs. And all that stuff he just rattled off, that's him. That's him pretending to be me. He knows all that stuff about the Beatles' fold back on that album and so on.
Matthew Pantelis is coming up after 9 o'clock and we'll catch you tomorrow morning from 6.
It's incredible. Over 75% of tickets in the Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery have already been sold. Don't miss your chance to win the 3